across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, there is only one story today, and you know, I've had a go at David Lammy on multiple occasions, but I actually believe the story today that as Justice Secretary, he is more angry than he has ever been in his entire political career. Yes, that's right. Hadush Kabatu has escaped. Why am I saying escaped? From prison.
He's been let out.
Chelmsford Prison moves people regularly to detention camps. Sometimes they ask them to get there under their own steam. Sometimes they put them in taxis with no security. Sometimes they send them in proper prison transport vehicles. But let me tell you, the third category is not very often. What has happened is, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, the prison officers in Chelmsford should have waited for a vehicle to transport him, but actually they send so many people out telling them, oh, now you've committed your crime, now you've been released, just go to the detention centre to be deported. They have so many of them that just walk there or get sent on the bus that it never crossed his mind to put the person into a vehicle. I'm going to tell you this.
There is on screen.
There is a video. There is a video of him comically standing there in his prison outfit with his bag of belongings, asking for directions. But he was asking for directions to the train station to London. In London, he may well disappear forever, and I'll explain why. Look. OK, is this guy a moron? Yes. Is this guy somebody who was so stupid he thought he was allowed to be a sex offender in Britain and get away with it? Yes. But at the same time, he's somebody who knew enough of the criminal fraternity to be smuggled into the United Kingdom on a small boat. And he's somebody who presumably has connections with other illegal migrants from Ethiopia and other countries in London. I'm not sure that finding this guy is going to be as easy as the police believe it's going to be. Remember, unlike most people, he's not walking around with a mobile phone because presumably it'd be out of batteries. Even if he has got one, it'd be out of batteries in his bag. He's somebody who is going to be really hard to trace.
Well, we have got this facial recognition, which don't approve of, but in this case, it would work, obviously, to capture this member.
OK, why don't we... Have we got the video lined up of him wandering around Chelmsford? We will try and show that, but we brought in specially for this show Chloe Dobbs because she's made a number of videos on this today.
That's not her, by the way.
For her YouTube channel. Well, look, Chloe, this is pretty shocking, isn't it?
It's absolutely shocking. And I
think the worst person you could possibly release.
I know, and also the person you would least expect for them to make a mistake on, because this has been a huge, high-profile case. So just to remind any of the viewers that aren't up to date, this is the man who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl in Epping, was sentenced to 12 months in prison. There was the opportunity to deport him. He's already spent some time, I think, remanded in custody, and so he's now able to be deported. So he was supposed to be today moved from HMP Chelmsford into an immigration detention centre, and then off he would be deported, presumably back to Ethiopia. But there clearly was some sort of mistake, maybe in the paperwork, or maybe the person doing the releases didn't read the paperwork properly, and he was just let out as if... Well, as you say, Andre, it might be the case that they trusted him to make his own way, but I doubt that was the case, because he was put down as someone who was highly likely to re-offend.
Chloe,
they probably thought, oh, some idiot looked at the paperwork and thought, oh, this is this guy's last day in prison. Off he goes back into the community.
But I was speaking to, and I don't want to put words into his mouth, but the Police and Crime Commissioner for the Thames Valley Police, Matt Barber, who comes on this show fairly regularly. He's quite a busy guy, but what he said is it is standard practice, he said this a while ago, it is standard practice to release people from prison and then tell them to report to an immigration centre. Now, clearly, the paperwork did not say to do that in this case, right? Let's just be clear. However, my view is, I bet that it happens so often, it's such standard practice, but that's in addition to something. I'll tell you what we should do, Chloe. Let's take a step back. He's been in prison for 1 month for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and a woman. So even before we get to any of that, were they proposing, and I know you don't know the full details because it's not been released yet, are we saying that he had been sentenced to 1 year and 1 month for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and a woman. He was going to be released after 1 month of that sentence. Now, okay, whatever way you look at it, being released to a detention centre is not technically a prison. So
had he served in remand already?
I think the idea is he only goes to the detention centre for a couple of days or at max, and then he's
so what I'm driving at is, one would assume what that means is the totality of his sentence was 1 month. Although Asher makes a reasonable point.
So I think he was remanded in
time served.
Right, so if he's got a 12-month sentence, then that means he's only meant to be behind bars for 6 months. Right?
Okay, or even
and
4
also
now,
they changed the law, right, so that the percentage of the time they have to serve in prison before we have the right to deport them is shorter. So hence it was quite early that he's able to be deported. And clearly a huge mistake was made. But at the moment, all of the resources are focused on finding this man as opposed to investigating the paperwork. So maybe we'll get to that a bit later. You'll be pleased to know that David Lammy claims he is helping the police find this man. That will probably set back the operations. But this has been a snail-pace operation, right? Because he was let out in the morning. The woman that filmed him in Chelmsford filmed him at about 11:30 in the morning. He was on a train at Chelmsford Station at 12:41. It wasn't until 12:57 that the police found out that this guy had been let out of prison. If it was the case that straight away in the morning when he was let out accidentally, the prison realised and contacted the police and it was all over the news, then when that woman saw this guy and thought, I recognise that guy from the Epping sexual assault story, then she probably would have called the police straight away. But she didn't know that this guy was on the loose.
But there is one critical thing. So I don't know a great deal about people being released from prison, but I know one thing: they get their belongings in a bag.
Yes.
And so if somebody walks out in their prison uniform, you know, sort of looking like the Shawshank Redemption,
with the arrows all pointing up,
then you know, with junk all over them, maybe wet, damaged clothes or whatever, you would assume maybe they've escaped. But if somebody walks out with their bag of belongings, then one would assume A, they are out of the prison because you can see them, but B, they've been given their belongings as well. And equally, let me go further than that. If he's been wrongly released, then one would assume there is a piece of paper that he has saying you've been released, right? So if anybody goes, you shouldn't be out here, he could just show them.
Get out of jail free card.
Yeah, so there is a possibility that this guy, he doesn't have a phone, he hasn't seen the news, and he's been told by a prison officer, you're being let go, today's your day.
And he doesn't know.
And he doesn't know. Because when he was filmed in Chelmsford, he didn't look like he was in a hurry and he was trying to hide.
You might be right.
He was chatting to people, asking for directions, doing a bit of shopping around the high street by the looks of it. So he could right now just be at a party in London, not realising what's going on.
Chloe. And if you and to be fair, that, I mean, you know, that's, I suppose you would go further than that by saying, in the footage that you can see on the screen now when he's being arrested for the sexual assault, he clearly didn't know that he was in any trouble and he shouldn't have done it.
No, because it's normal in his country, isn't it?
He's probably quite bemused by the whole process, but they've dragged him out. They've said, here is your name, here are your release papers, there's your bag of stuff, leave. I mean, what would you do in that position? You'd just leave, wouldn't you? You wouldn't.
Exactly.
You wouldn't say, no, I'm sure.
Well, you'd assume they're correct and they're allowed to. But the thing is, we only know about this case because it's high profile. I bet it's happened loads of other times, but it's not a big news story. But because this guy was in the news so much because of the Epping protests, we know about it. Well, that's so how often does this go on?
Well, actually, that raises the next question. That raises the next question. When they say that only one person has been suspended, the assumption is that's the person who accidentally released him.
Yes.
But of course, what it might be is it's literally standard practice to release them, and what they're now doing is going, he shouldn't have been on that list of people who should be allowed to walk out. It could have been. Do you see what I mean? All the paperwork has been squared.
Apparently, there's 6 points that he should have been caught at that he wasn't.
Yeah, we've also heard that this is a really cushy prison, and he's probably been having quite a similar experience there to what he will have had back at the hotel.
Yes,
so
he looked well rested, didn't he? He did look well rested.
A card to get all sorts of sweets and goodies from the canteen. Yeah, he wasn't exactly looking frail and skinny after his release there from that short.
I mean, I think that part of this story is that the majority of prisoners are just released and told to report to the immigration centre. A small number get taxis. A very, very, very small number are put into armoured vehicles with prison officers, and I bet they just categorised him into the wrong category, because basically almost nobody goes in the armoured vehicle.
I mean, that's absolutely shocking if that's true. I presumed that the standard practice would be the police come up and they themselves
Oh, it's absolutely
escort
not
you.
the standard practice.
Wow, but how
Absolutely
on
not
earth
the
can you
standard.
trust people to report back?
Well, you can't trust people. As Matthew Barber said, the Thames Valley Police Commissioner, he said, you know, when you say to somebody, you are a violent offender, you're now being released from prison, please do report to the immigration centre to be deported. I mean, how many burglars would do that? I mean, you'd be mad, wouldn't you? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, no wonder we can't deport anybody from this country. And the percentage of asylum seekers with failed asylum claims, I think it's only like 10% of them that we ever deport. So, I mean, I'm not saying that those people are people who have committed crimes and been in prison, but that maybe gives you an indication that we're pretty lax when it comes to ensuring people get deported.
It's all to do with the way the system is constructed. In order to be deported from the United Kingdom, your case has to be so meritless that nobody who earns 200 grand a year as a lawyer can think of even the thinnest excuse for you to remain. Remember chicken nuggets. Remember my cat would be sad. You've got to have a cat. And there are some people whose case has so little merit. There's no cats, there's no chicken nuggets, there's no neurodiversity. But there's so few of those people. What happens in this country is, first of all, you can file as many claims as you want without any trouble. If the Home Office misses a comma, then you automatically win. So they know that just throw as many cases. And if there is anything, even the most ludicrous reason for you to stay in Britain, you can stay. Now, obviously...
Did anyone try the Armenian chicken McNuggets? Are they that bad?
No, it's Albanian chicken nuggets.
Well, a journalist, you know, a good journalist would go and try them.
That's a good idea. Maybe you can go and do that. But the other thing that you can do...
I mean, Ash always has an interesting take on this.
Not kosher.
But my view is, it's not whether the chicken nuggets are good or bad, it's the fact that is a defence in the court.
I know.
They might be better.
It's genuinely insane. But the other thing that you can do to ensure you never get deported is claim that you're a child when you're clearly an adult, because we've got a story on that. So there was a Syrian migrant who's got a receding hairline, grey hair, wrinkles and hairy muscular arms. He's claiming that he's 16 years old in his asylum application, and the judge is happy with that.
We had a baldy in the fifth year.
The judge has decided that this man is a child.
Pete Edwards,
and probably this guy will be then sitting in a school with a bunch of little kids.
I feel very sorry for the schools in Kent, because what they have to do. So first of all, just to be clear, you know, these big blokes with beards claiming to be 12 do not end up going into the second year, right? What they do is they have to sit them with specialist teachers, because they have to educate them as if they were children whilst they're assessing it. What it is, the whole problem is the whole system is not on balance of probabilities, right? You look at that person and you go, look, I'm not being funny, but he's got a beard, right? And he's saying he's 11, right? But they go...
You can do it with a palm scan.
Until you prove it. But the other question is the way these people are coached. Because in an age of communications, what happens is every time somebody succeeds with a particular line at an immigration court, it goes viral on WhatsApp. Go try this, say that. And because you can put in so many... I mean, if you think about it, that guy, the one in, one out bloke, we don't know his name, the Iranian, who was deported, one of 42 deported because of the Keir Starmer one in, one out. He has come back, and his new claim is that he's a modern-day slave, and the reason that he claimed asylum in the United Kingdom was because he was now required to pay back all the money for his illegal entry to the United Kingdom, and that's why he lied and said he was an asylum seeker. But now he's come back on a small boat. He now says that he's a modern-day slave. I will tell you, that case has merit. He'll probably win.
Surely we have to take their first answer.
No, we don't. Well, we should. No. We don't.
I mean, Keir Starmer claims, he's going to be fast-tracked, he's going to be deported straight away. Absolutely no chance whatsoever. And the hilarious thing is that we've got ministers claiming that this guy... The story of this guy coming back to Britain shows that the deal is working. Sorry, what kind of mental gymnastics do you have to do to go, OK, we've got a one in, one out policy, the people we're deporting are coming back our way, therefore the policy's working. They're saying, oh, because we've said we're going to kick him straight out again, that will send a really strong message to anybody else thinking of coming across not to have a go.
Look, I'm not a lawyer, But I don't see how his case doesn't have merit, because he says, so first of all, you are allowed to lie. On your application, you are allowed to lie to the immigration court. That does not count against you. So that's point number one. So the fact that he has previously been here doesn't count. The fact that he's previously lied doesn't count. The fact he's made a previous application doesn't count. None of that bad character doesn't count. Should do, normally does, doesn't. Okay, so then he says, I'm in danger in France and in my home country because the people smugglers will kill me for failing to pay back the 10, 15 grand that I owe them. And the only way that they won't kill me is if I'm in Britain and claim enough benefits to pay them back. That case has merit. I'm sure the court will rule in his favour.
Yeah, I highly doubt he'll be leaving.
He's not leaving.
And sure enough, I mean, it may be a long time until we find out if he's staying or going, but it certainly will not be the fast track that Keir Starmer claims it is going to be. He won't be out in a few days like Keir Starmer is making it out.
His application has legal merit. We've talked about the fact, we often say the law is an ass in this country. You know, particularly in this case, the law is an ass. You know, when you say it doesn't matter if you've lied previously, then he's come back and gone, I've lied previously and it doesn't matter. Well, you know, there you go.
They want to do the one in, one out with Belgium and Germany and Holland and other countries now.
Yeah, it's almost as if you have to be really stupid if you end up getting deported, because it is so easy to stay. This whole policy, this one in, one out policy, has been a total farce, right from
We've had
beginning.
thousands in while that's been going on.
Well, we've sent 42 people.
Yes.
Right?
And literally
this was announced on the 10th of July, and we were told we're going to have this up and running in weeks. It's going to be 50 a week minimum, and then we'll quickly start ramping it up, right?
Because, Chloe, the legal position is very, very clear. Anybody with almost any claim is allowed to stay.
You're welcome. Everyone is welcome.
If, as an example, if a migrant jumped off a boat and you or I happened to be walking past and we took them on a date, we could claim rights to family life on the basis we're in a relationship, and they'd probably have to be given indefinite leave to remain.
Oh, you know the Home Office are organising marriages for asylum seekers. You know about this?
Oh, go on.
Yes, so the Home Office, they're funding and organising marriages for asylum seekers. So if you come across on a boat, you're staying in a hotel, you fancy getting married, the Home Office will sort it out for you.
You get a migrant hotel reception.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there is any reception, but yes, I'm sure you.
I used it on the show I did with you, didn't I?
But yes, this is insane, and we've then found out about migrants being baptised in the loo.
In the bath. Would a bidet count, or a shower, or a power shower?
We had a chap getting in touch saying, you would not believe the number of gay Christians in my mosque.
I know.
I mean, it's
where does he live?
Well,
but it's so insulting.
Depends where he lives.
But that's the reality. If you say I am either gay or a Christian, they will allow you to stay.
And the thing is, they say, oh, we can't prove that someone's gay.
There is one way.
I'll be honest with you. There are definitely people at Virgin Pride who could have a crack at trying it. There's no doubt as far as I'm concerned.
You always take things too far.
There are though. There are.
I'm sure we have got people in this country who've had their asylum claims approved, who themselves are homophobic, who have claimed that they're gay.
But we're talking here about joke technicalities. And I was joking about people from Virgin Pride. But let me tell you the other joke. It's perfectly legitimate to baptise yourself in a toilet under the Christian faith.
Oh, right.
And if you've done that, then you can claim to be a Christian.
You can't baptise yourself, can you?
Yeah, you can. Well, a Christian can baptise a Christian.
Do it yourself.
I could baptise you now.
No, but me on my own, go in the cubicle and baptise myself.
I think to be honest with you, I think if you were the only, I don't know, I think if you were the only person available and you were to buy a Bible,
I have to pour water on me,
read the Bible and do, I reckon you could baptise yourself, and I reckon probably in the Islamic world there are people who've actually done it.
There's only one way to find out.
Ken in London. No, we're going to continue to talk.
If you know anything, got any baptism tips for on your own, give us a ring on that on our number.
Luckily, I haven't got an asylum claim that I need approving, so I don't think I'm going to be needing to baptise myself in a toilet.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, isn't it? But OK, 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. Look, I'm sure if you baptise yourself in the toilet, that would make you a genuine Christian. But I'll tell you something else. It's the people taking the mick that's the problem. Anyway, we're going to be talking about this asylum seeker. It may well be that we catch him or they catch him, or why am I saying that during the show? Why am I even saying that?
What a ridiculous thing to say.
What a load of old balls.
Of gibberish.
Right,
We'll
we have got all the slots available because none of you have phoned us yet, and we're going to be taking your calls straight after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what? We were having an argument during the break about the situation of Hadish Kabatu. I maintain that that this is a very, very dishonest story. I genuinely think that there is a process of transferring prisoners from prisons to detention facilities. That process is to let them get the bus and go under their own steam. And I think the mistake that's been made is that this prisoner, they didn't recognise the political sensitivity of doing that. I think that's it.
I mean, you might be right. As I said earlier, I initially thought that it would be standard practice that if you're being moved to an immigration detention centre that the police always take you and there's no opportunity for you to run off. But your understanding is that it's actually very common for people to be told to just go on their own accord, which is just absolutely baffling.
With £76, he was given £76
yeah, but
exit fee.
I think they know at the prison that this was such a high-profile case, and in fact we've heard that he was not allowed to mingle with the other prisoners very much because it was such a high-profile case. They were worried about other prisoners attacking him, and so they knew at the prison that this was a very contentious case. But you may have just had some idiot doing the paperwork who doesn't really read the news, didn't really know this was super high-profile, and just thought he can take the bus.
But it raises a question, Chloe, which is what I'm driving at, is how many other people considered to be very dangerous, or highly likely to reoffend, how many others get asked to just, 72 quid, take the bus to the detention centre? How many others are in that position? We don't know the figures.
And I hope that there are demands
No, apparently
now
he got
for
released.
us to find out exactly how many people are allowed to just go on their own.
No,
accord to
they made a
change and how many
mistake.
people actually turn up.
They thought he was released on licence rather than a foreign offender set for deportation. They didn't know who he was. He wasn't meant to get the £76 subsistence
We paid
payment.
him.
So we've paid him as well.
So now
they've
he's been able to afford a train to London.
It was a proper mistake. They thought he was a prisoner being released on licence. That's according to the Telegraph.
Okay, so people are going to ask, and they have asked about this whole situation with the number of prisoners released in error. Do you want me to just read this, which is from the Press Association? The number of prisoners released in error has more than doubled in the year to March 2025, government data shows. A report by His Majesty's Prison and Probation Service said 262 prisoners were released in error from April 2024 to March 2025, and that's up 115 from the previous year. His Majesty's Prison and Probation Service said in a report that releases in error remain infrequent and believes the rise is linked to changes in the law and the early release scheme that Labour introduced in September 2024. Thousands of inmates have been freed early since then, but that has been legal, and it was in order to cut overcrowding in jails. So look, 262 prisoners released. Look, it's not an enormous number in percentage terms, but I mean, each one of those people who shouldn't have been released represent, one would assume, a risk to society.
And that's how many they say. Could be a lot more than that.
Yes, I mean, this press release is a bit confusing because where they're saying that they think this is due to the early release scheme, then it would make sense if there are 200, it's far more than 262 people were released under the early release scheme. What we're interested in, of course, I don't agree with the people being released early, especially the ones that are particularly dangerous, but what we're interested in is how many mess-ups are there? How much incompetence is there where people who are not supposed to be out on the streets are just accidentally let out? I mean, we know that the prisons are, they're very, very much under stress at the moment. They haven't got enough staff. A lot of them are really overcrowded. And I mean, we see the same in the NHS, right? Doctors very often, good-willed people who are very well trained but are under so much stress that they make catastrophic mistakes. I mean, we've just found out that it's 60 billion quid a year that we're paying in medical negligence bills because of mistakes made. And you may see a similar story in the prisons where there are a lot of mistakes being made because of the prison officers just essentially firefighting with the issues going on in the prisons and not being able to think through their decisions.
Chloe, I maintain this. First of all, I do not believe that foreigners are more likely to commit crime than people from Britain. I think that's a silly idea.
Well, it just depends what crimes.
What I maintain is, that all of us have a capacity to do bad in our lives. I mean, different sorts of bads in different cases. And actually, partly the criminal justice system prevents us from doing it, but actually also a social contract prevents us from doing it. So, your sibling can trust you, right, in a way that perhaps if you moved in with somebody you didn't know, they couldn't trust you to the same extent. Do you see my point? And what I'm driving at is this. I think that part of the reason why migrant crime is so high is literally because they're migrants and not part of the community. We always give the example on this show that you're less likely to rob the sweet shop if your uncle owns it.
Yes, exactly. If you are part of a country and part of a community and you know all the shop owners, for example, you're less likely to be a shoplifter. Absolutely. If you know all the women and girls in your community, you're less likely to sit on the street corner, as some migrants from the migrant hotels do, and look at people inappropriately during the day. So I think that is an important point to raise, absolutely. But the thing that is, even if it is completely equal, the probability of anyone from any country committing certain crimes, what's different about people who have come here, especially ones who have come here illegally committing crimes, is you think that didn't have to happen if we simply had border control. So, I mean, we've had the case of the horrifying news today that the Sudanese migrant is found guilty for murdering Fiona Sky White, who was a migrant hotel worker. Absolutely horrifying. There are murders that happen with English people murdering English people.
But we don't need to bring more in, do we? That's the thing. We don't need to bring more.
In Fiona's case, you think that is a mother of a 5-year-old child who did nothing wrong, who would be alive today if we had border control. That That is infuriating.
But this is the other thing. In the environment that foreigners do not commit crime more than English people, right? In that environment of repeating the obvious comment,
it's not true, though.
Who are the people who come... Well, let's just assume it's true. Who are the people who come to a country illegally? Those people who can't get in legally. And who can't get in legally? People with no skills, no money, and criminal convictions.
But not only that, the worst part of it is they're young men. I mean, when we were young men, I don't know about you, but when you're 18, you're quite a terror in your own country. But when you go on holiday, because it's all novel, you come back and you realise what crazy stuff you do when you're on holiday. And there is something psychologically, when you go to somewhere else and you're a 20-year-old bloke, you do really stupid things.
Well, I mean, I remember Nigel...
And these are all young men.
I remember Nigel Farage saying he wouldn't like to live next to a house full of men from Romania who'd moved here. Well, look...
Yeah, I never wanted to live in the boys' staircase at uni.
Exactly.
You don't want to live next to me in Manchester back in 1990 in Fallowfield.
Exactly right. And I remember the mayor of Zakynthos in Greece saying that he was going to clean up the problems because there was people engaging in oral sex while kids were walking to school, vomiting on the streets, urinating, and all this sort of thing. But that's what people will do in Zante, right? That's what they do.
Is that just like a normal, like?
Well, because people, when they go on holiday to Zante, they think, oh my God, I can do whatever I want.
Exactly. That's what happens to the novel. It's the sort of
you're right. It's an important point you make. If you're somewhere where you don't know the local community and you don't know the people that have to put up with that.
All that, yeah.
Exactly. And you've got
right,
that
let's talk. This is
right, the slight problem is with this. The next story we're going to talk about is we covered it last night, but
let's do it again as if we didn't.
The producers weren't listening.
She's part of the problem.
Producers weren't listening.
Now, this lady threw coffee down the drains and got in trouble. If we say anything, let's have a look at the woman being accosted, wrestled to the ground by Richmond Council enforcement officers.
I was waiting for my bus and I noticed that my bus is approaching, and I thought it would be ideal to get rid of the leftover coffee before I poured onto the bus. So I just literally poured the leftover over there. As soon as I turned around, I noticed 3 men enforcement officers chasing me. It was quite intimidating.
Apparently, Chloe, just on a side point, Richmond people are the most beautiful people in any county in London, according to Woman's Own, was it? Oh, you sent it to him.
No. So the Telegraph did a piece where they were ranking all of the London boroughs, and they put Richmond as the top one. And they looked at various different metrics, but there's a Richmond meme page, and they shared it and said, "Oh, it's clearly been done on the best-looking people in London."
FHM used to say that Lee had the most attractive women.
The hotties, yeah.
And the reason was because they were all Ukrainians.
Yes, there are beautiful Ukrainian women.
Anyway, here's the thing that we discussed last night. What upset me about this woman being done for pouring a small amount of coffee into a storm drain is that when Thames Water
Don't get me started on Thames Water.
When Thames Water literally pump excrement into exactly the same storm drain, they do not get into any trouble.
No, and when people leaving the slug and lettuce probably tonight and tomorrow night all vomit all over the drains, they won't get in any trouble.
Correct.
But a woman who was trying to she had her coffee in a reusable cup, not a takeaway cup which she could just chuck the whole thing in the bin. She wanted to empty it before she got onto the bus so she didn't spill anything on the moving bus, right? And so she thought, I'll just pour it down the drain. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
So the inspectors in Richmond, what I'm about to say is about to sound stupid, but I make it as a serious point. The inspectors in Richmond said that any waste water, any waste liquid rather, can be put into a bin. Could I urinate into a bin?
Oh.
I'm being serious because if
there's only one way to find out.
It would leak out the bin bag.
On this serious note, they told her to pour the coffee into the bin. So if I urinated in a bin, right, so first of all, you would not be able to see anything, therefore it wouldn't be indecent exposure. And if they say that waste liquid can be poured into a bin, then I'm not publicly fouling. So one would
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Their logic is just completely crazy. I mean, these enforcement officers in Richmond, there are loads of them, and they hand out parking tickets.
Do they get a cut of the money? Do they get a cut of the fine?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well,
they're all on commission, and I think Richmond Council probably makes a huge amount of money off parking fines. And they are obsessed. They patrol the streets non-stop, and they also, I believe, go after people for things like this, like pouring coffee down drains. And most of what they do is handing out parking tickets.
By the way,
if you park in the wrong place
just to be clear on one thing. these guys do not have the power to detain you. If you run off, they
Run
can't do
away.
anything, just run off.
But you know what, as well, like you say, they actually pump raw night soil into the Thames. It's not even broken up. I mean, it's literally the same as if you went and had a dump in the Thames over a bridge. It's the same sort of stuff.
Well, the streets in Richmond for about a year were all just turned into a river because all of the Thames water pipes.
Yeah, because you don't have an embankment in Richmond, so it goes. Actually, the stuff will go on your paths.
That's the towpath flooding when the tide comes in, but that's not an issue. What I mean is all of the Thames water pipes had issues and were breaking, and they had to constantly block all of the roads. There's nothing more annoying than temporary traffic lights, and we had about 2 years of it just everywhere with Thames water. And every time they'd fix one, the drain would break again, and then it would just be a rip. But there's another I hate Thames water for so many reasons.
There's another element with Richmond Borough Council, which is that they're very left-wing. I mean, they've had hardline left-wing Conservative leaderships and hardline left-wing Liberal Democrats leaderships of the council. But all of them are agreed on one thing: nail the motorists to the desk and send out the enforcement officers to literally just harm people. I mean, £150 for pouring a small amount of coffee away in a storm drain is shocking. Storm drain is shocking.
Yeah, it's absolutely just unconscionable to fine someone 150 quid.
It's not unconscionable, is it? It's quite bad.
I think it's morally unacceptable.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I think it's absolutely vile to just go after some poor woman
like a theft type
who
thing,
wasn't doing anything wrong, who's clearly very distressed and has probably had a whole week or so really affected by this, just so that you could make a few quid on your commission.
But not only that, if you speak to any decent rubbish expert, they'll tell you it's ridiculous to pour liquids into a bin.
Yeah, exactly. The poor binmen, if people start pouring their coffee into the bin after this, every time the binmen take it out, they're going to have coffee pouring all over
They've
them.
apparently now apologised, but it's taken them a few days.
That's only because it went viral.
Yeah, now go and think about what you've done, Richmond Council.
I mean, I suppose there is another side to it. I suppose there is another side to it which says Richmond Council are probably not in favour of Thames Water pumping excrement into the storm drain.
Please, Andre, night soil.
Nor are they in favour of coffee going in there. They're kind of quite.
I'd rather have coffee than
they're very eco. We thought David Ashton.
But that's my very point. They're not in favour of either of these things going in. So it's not like they're hypocrites.
Do Thames Water ever have to pay any of their fines? No. Thames Water are asking if they can have all of their fines just wiped away so that they don't go bankrupt.
Yeah,
What
One rule
that's
for other.
Terrible moral hazard.
Anyway, we've got to take a little break here. You want to talk about anything? 03444 99 1000. We've got Chloe Dobbs. It's me and Andre on Talk, and we'll be back in just a jiffy.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and Chloe Dobbs is our guest co-host this evening. Chloe, I understand you're concerned about condoms.
I am very concerned about condoms.
Why?
Well, we don't seem to have money for anything in this country, and we're probably going to have big tax rises in the autumn, right?
Yes.
And so you would think when the country is broke and the gilt yields are the highest in 27 years, that we would go through with a fine-tooth comb and get rid of anything that's not essential. But apparently, we're still giving 88 million quid to Pakistan for what? For condoms. We are sending a load of condoms to Pakistan.
74 million. Is it 88 million rubber johnnies for 74 million pounds?
I'm not sure how much each one costs,
What
but
type
it
are
must
they? I mean,
be.
is it a variety pack?
It must be a
article-
lot of
Ribbed.
condoms.
The article we're talking about said it was 88, so...
Well, let's average it out then. Let's say 81. So why are we sending Pakistan condoms? Are their own ones rubbish?
Maybe. I think, there's a big problem in the third world of there not being enough education. The people that can least afford to have children are the ones that have the most of them. I mean, it was a slum I was in Lebanon, and we were just shocked at how every family seemed to have at least 8 kids, and we're having more, and we were like, why don't you guys stop when you literally can't afford to feed these kids and they're starving?
right.
And they say, well, we haven't got any condoms.
So I understand. It sounds hilarious, but I understand why, in a foreign age humanitarian mission, they would want to give some contraception to Pakistan. But this country's broke. We are a charity for the rest of the world, and we help everybody but ourselves. This should be the first thing to go.
One of the things that worries me about foreign aid is the Bribery Act, which means that we can no longer tie foreign aid to any tangible, any agreements, extract anything at all from these people. You can't turn around and say, we will give you aid for your vaccination programme if you agree to decide to reform your education system. Or stop, in the case of Gaza, stop teaching people that the people that give money to you are monkeys and pigs, right, that need to be killed at every opportunity.
Are we giving them the rubber johnnies or the money to go and get them? That's the big question,
see, that's
isn't
the
it?
thing is maybe they're not even getting any condoms from us. Maybe this is just going in some big millionaires' pockets.
Like Live Aid, a lot of it just financed the civil war.
I mean, that's the problem with foreign aid, is so many of it just goes in lines.
Well,
with
look at the
people's
Hamas
pockets,
billionaires.
And you think we could do with that money instead.
3 of them were multi-billionaires of the Hamas. That's where your donations are going.
I know.
I genuinely believe that overseas aid has made things significantly worse in Gaza, and I think that's just one example, isn't it? I'm sure it's true in other countries, because you see these countries where they're begging us and eating rats on the street. The presidential motorcade, 5 Maybachs and a couple of Range Rover Sports. These people have always got money right at the top. And I just wonder whether what we're actually doing is writing out a cheque to line the Swiss bank accounts of corrupt foreign leaders.
None of these countries have democracies and proper scrutiny of politicians like we do. Of course they're just going to pocket it. There are so many countries around the world that are just taking us for fools. It's not just the French pocketing our money, it's people everywhere. But I've got an idea, actually. So we can't get rid of these Pakistani grooming gang leaders that Pakistan refuses to accept back when we need to deport them.
I can understand why they don't want them.
We could say to Pakistan, no more Johnnies unless you take them. That would solve it, wouldn't it?
Good idea, brilliant.
That would
Rubber
solve
Johnnies for...
I believe that if you are a conservative Muslim...
That's a lot of money, 88 million.
I believe that if you are a conservative Muslim in a top position in Islamabad, you'll say, I neither want the condoms nor do I want the pedos.
But they do want the 88 million quid,
They probably want the 88 million quid. But it is an interesting...
They're probably not spending it on
But on a
Johnnies.
serious point, Chloe, it is a serious point.
Yeah.
So why
are we still giving visas and money to Pakistan if they're refusing to take people that are a danger to our community?
Exactly right. And by the way,
It's insane.
I think there's an important point when we talk about taking back foreign criminals. So there is an argument which goes, well, hang on a second, you're just foisting these people upon a country that can ill afford it. But what I think we do is every country in the world should deport their foreign criminals to the country they came from, including Britain receiving our foreign criminals back, because it's a punishment and it disrupts their criminal network. So if as an example, I was the kingpin of a drug gang in Colombia.
He's not, by the way.
Then actually, deporting me back to the UK would significantly disrupt that operation in Colombia, more than just putting me in prison. And so it's not just saying we're getting rid of this as a problem to other countries, we're actually benefiting every country in the world. If every country in the world took back their own foreign criminals, the disruption, because foreign criminal gangs are foreign criminal gangs. We talked earlier, Chloe, in the show about the fact that, you know, in communities you feel less connected with, you're more likely to break the rules. Deporting foreign criminals resolves this problem globally.
Yes, that's a very good point, actually. I hadn't thought
Well
about
done,
it
man.
before.
Well done,
Andre.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, let's take a little break with
You
that.
should be
A very
Prime
rare
Minister.
event that was. 03414991000. It's Talk with Chloe Dobbs. It's me and Andre, and we'll be back in a minute or two.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is a late show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and Chloe Dobbs. And Chloe, we changed the entire show tonight because of the escape of the Epping perv. Should I have said it like that? Anyway, sorry. Okay, the guy from Epping.
Sex offender.
The
child sex offender that they've released in error into our streets.
Well, okay.
And he's now on the loose.
You mentioned just very, very quickly about the Syrian migrant with the deep voice and grey hair ruled to be a child. Tell me a little bit about that. Apologies, we've already talked about it, and the show's a bit bitty as a result, but I'm very concerned about it.
Yeah, so we have had a judge accept the argument of a Syrian migrant that he is only 16 years old. Now, this man has grey hair,
right,
a receding hairline,
right,
and hairy, muscular arms.
Right.
And you had Derby City Council do an age assessment on him, and they said he's clearly well over the age of 18. But he's gone to some tribunal, and the judge has said, oh, well, if you're stressed and you've been through a lot of trauma, that can age you quicker than other people.
on your mic there, just a minute.
Oh, sorry.
The hair.
So is it basically...
And I know some people, if they are stressed out, their hair starts going grey a bit early. But I'm sorry, you are not a 16-year-old if you've got a receding hairline and grey hair and wrinkles.
They have to accept anyone's word. I heard that was the case.
Well, this is the thing. As we were saying earlier, you can say literally whatever you want, and they will believe you.
You can be 60 years old and say you're 14.
We have no deterrent whatsoever.
I think what they're saying is, once again, there is an absence of evidence to prove you wrong. So what happens
There's
is...
a huge amount of evidence.
No,
it's got grey hair.
But what you're saying is, right, OK, well, first of all, it's not on the balance of probability. And secondly, there's no definitive proof. Well, actually, the assumption should be you're an adult.
There is ways to check. They can scan the palms of their hands. There's ways to check it.
And also, the other thing that we've got to do is we've got to start saying, as Asher said earlier, and I kind of shoved Asher out the way on this. We have to go back to saying people who break the law are of bad character. We have to say that is a material thing. The fact that you've thrown your documents over the side and lied ought to be considered.
If you work anywhere near kids, you have to go through all these certain checks to see. But if you're some guy that's just thrown his passport away, they can move you into a hotel next to a primary school. No problem. They'll just take your word for it.
This is the thing, is we joke about this to some degree, but I think that it's quite serious.
Well,
the fact that we have got adult
children,
men pretending to be children. Because it's one thing, your children having to walk to school near a migrant hotel, but it's another thing when they are actually in your school.
In showers and and there was one that went on to murder who said he was under 16. I remember I was at school with a guy who said he was, 11 when he was 15, and he was bigger than all of us in the first year, and by the 5th year he was shorter than all of us. But he was shaving from 11, and it was very...
because they'd grown and he hadn't shrunk.
Yeah, because he stopped growing, didn't he? And we all grew up, and he was already at full height when he came in.
And who was this?
Hussein.
Okay.
Why did he lie? Just a matter of interest.
He'd come from Pakistan and he was 15 and he wanted, the education, and he was a great guy. Actually,
he wanted to start it in a lower year.
He wanted to start secondary school at the beginning and do it. You see, you can understand why.
But at least he was actually a child, as opposed to what sounds like possibly a 40-year-old bloke getting into a classroom.
Although he wasn't, obviously, when he got to the 3rd year, he was like 19. But
I would be pulling my child out of school if I was a parent and there was quite clearly an adult man.
I'm sorry, just to be clear, this guy now presumably has the right to go into a normal school.
I presume so. We don't have those details.
If he's been ruled as a child.
If he's been ruled as a child. But the reason why they claim that they're children is not necessarily so they can spend a year in school. They probably don't pay attention in class, to be honest. It's so that they know 100% their claim's going to get approved. If you're a child, that's it. If you're gay, that's it, you're approved. If you're Christian, that's it. You're approved, 100%.
What about this?
Or gay Christian, belt and braces.
What about this?
If you're a child who's a gay Christian, you definitely never get deported.
Hang on, what about this George Soros thing, which is the Open Society Institute telling people how to deal with immigration? So what's happening is we are taking people's word for it, and we know they're being coached in France on what to say in order to qualify.
Yes, and I'll give you a scary accusation we're hearing, which is that you have people who are Muslim extremists who want to spread their extremist ideology. And what they do is when other people from Muslim countries come to Britain, they make friends with them and say, we'll help you with your asylum application, we'll do the paperwork for you, we'll help you get it approved, so that they can get close to them and get them on side. And then after they've helped them and done them a favour, they then try to indoctrinate them and turn them into extremists. That is absolutely terrifying. It's scary enough, the prospect of somebody who already is an extremist coming across on our shores, not knowing who they are, but it's another thing knowing that someone coming across who's maybe a moderate Muslim is then turned into extremist on British soil. That's terrifying.
We've been told the United Arab Emirates and other Islamic nations are considering border controls or ending visa-free travel for British people on the grounds of concerns about Islamic fundamentalism in Britain. So the irony is you have countries like the United Arab Emirates, like Saudi Arabia. We don't have visa-free with Saudi Arabia, so maybe that's a bad example. But turning around and saying, in order to protect ourselves from Islamic extremism, we are not allowing British people in without a full visa vetting.
I mean, it's genuinely insane that we have got to that point where it is that way round. And the thing is we're very principled in the West about free speech, and consequently we are very hesitant to, for example, if there is some extremist preacher spreading horrific things in a mosque, to shut them down for it.
Tommy Robinson though.
Whereas in the UAE they'll happily ban the Muslim Brotherhood, for example.
Yeah, because they're used to nutters.
Yes.
I mean, without being funny, they're used to saying, I'm sorry, this person's a toxic.
Well, they
violent.
say we're mad what we're doing, and we're naive, which we obviously are, and what we're doing is just committing suicide, basically.
I mean, I don't know about you guys,
suicide.
but I've always been, in the past, more of a sort of free speech absolutist, but now I'm very much on the fence because
you can't allow free speech.
I've always believed in the sunlight is the best disinfectant argument, but what I've seen over the past couple of years is people who are supporting Hamas openly on the streets. It hasn't been a case of sunlight is the best disinfectant. It seems to have normalised and spread that extremist ideology.
But free speech, Chloe, free speech and all of these things come with a culture. Of being a reasonable and moderate and Western.
You can't be tolerant. You can't be tolerant to an intolerant. You can't.
Tolerance destroys itself, as Popper would have said.
You shouldn't give free speech to people who want to try and get in our system, remove the free speech. You shouldn't give free speech to people who want to remove free speech. That's the only.
It was like Hamas won an election. They threw their opponents off a building and shot all the independent
perfectly
journalists.
Explains why you shouldn't.
And I'm
terrified
of that happening here. People say, "Oh, it will never happen in Britain," but
of course it could.
It happened in Iran. You've got that.
The whole Middle East was Christian. It used to be Christian.
It's the woke left and the Islamists coming together, and then once they get power, the Islamists get rid of the woke left.
Albania is no longer a majority Muslim country. To be fair, Albania is our good friend, but the Muslim extremists in Albania, there aren't many of them, have moved to Britain. There aren't many of them. There were never many of them, but they've moved to Britain. By the way, congratulations and thank you to Albania, who've said that they will take our failed asylum seekers, and they will take people claiming asylum in Britain and process them in exchange for us helping to invade Kosovo in the 90s.
And they love Norman Wisdom, don't they, in Albania? The statues to him.
I remember when I worked.
They call him Pitkin.
When I worked in the European Parliament, the French always used to say we need to invoke the wisdom of the Normans. And it always used to be translated in the European Parliament as we need to invoke Norman wisdom, which everyone used to laugh at. It was funny.
It was very funny when Keir Starmer met with the.
I haven't got time for this.
Okay.
And we're just going to have to say, Chloe, come back next time.
After the break.
No, I think you're going now, aren't you?
Am I?
I was up for Chloe staying on.
I can stay if I'm...
We're going to keep Chloe on, and she's going to tell that she's
staying. Am I being deported out the studio?
Chloe's staying, and after the news, we're going to go to our usual memorial to James Whale, which is in the form of a clip from one of his great appearances, rather than anything else.
And this is a good one. He clashes with lawyer Ivor Sampson. It's going to be a good one. So stay tuned. Back in a couple of minutes.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
As you know, our great leader died a couple of months ago now. That is James Whale. We miss him, of course. We attempt to be as good as him. Never going to happen. But we always have a memorial on Friday night at 11 o'clock to him, which is a video tribute, something that he did on his show. You're welcome, by the way, to suggest them. 03444991000. Nobody's done that yet. But of course, every week it falls to Asher Gould to introduce the clip.
And yeah, this is, he's been on quite a few shows. I think he threatened to sue you once, but we managed to calm him down. It's immigration lawyer Ivan Sampson, so you probably recognise him, but he's a bit of a wind-up merchant. He'll probably sue me now. He believes what he's saying, though, so let's have a look of how him and James Whale got on or didn't really get on. Run the VT, let's have a look. Show the dog the rabbit.
An immigration lawyer, Ivan. There is too much immigration into this country at the moment. We are beginning to bend under the weight. We can't carry on, even legally, taking nearly 600,000
1 million
people.
gross legally.
Yeah. So what are we going to do about it?
Well, first of all, most of the immigration is legal immigration.
Yeah, we've got to cut that down as well. We've got to cut that.
Well, it's down to government policies. So you can't blame people coming here, applying under the rules.
I agree.
Within our laws, and being granted entry clearance.
But they've got to get rid of these fake university courses, and they've got to stop allowing 5 relatives to come with them. Because this is all just fraudulent fakery.
Dependents are no longer allowed, so that's already happening.
Good.
But you have to remember that students spend about £30 billion a year.
Well, the good ones do, yeah, the proper ones.
Well, it's just it's just bluster. There's no evidence of that. It's just
there is people come here to learn English.
Of course, it's been happening.
And the rules for students are actually quite strict now.
Oh, good.
And
that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
But it was happening, wasn't it?
But we don't want more and more people coming into this country when we can't treat the NHS the people we have here. And the NHS needs a real kick up the backside.
We've got a housing crisis as well.
Migrants pay an annual fee for their treatment. First of all,
not much. Nothing like for what medical
does. No, they pay
hardly anything
a year, whether they receive treatment or not. That's not true.
Okay.
Secondly, they also pay national insurance contributions.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
So on top of paying £1,000 a year, they also pay NI contribution, which goes to the NHS as well. So they're double paying.
We can't house and treat the people who are already here, Ivan. So how on earth can we carry on bringing this many people in here?
Migrants are not entitled to social housing. First of all, they pay private housing. So, it's just simply
but they're making it more expensive.
They're in hotels for 2 or 3 years. What are you talking about?
I think you also find they're paying taxes. Look, I'm a migrant.
Well, the people in the hotels are not paying a thing.
So, let me tell you, my mother worked for the NHS for 40 years as a migrant.
Yeah, but you're legally here. You're working and paying taxes. There are many that come here and don't. I'm fed up
they can't
with the back
claim
teeth.
benefits.
Hang on.
They can't claim benefits.
I'm fed up with this. People like you that defend these idiots, these criminals who come here illegally. Forget the legal for a minute. That can be sorted out. That can easily be sorted out. 711, I think, came into this country, probably more than that. Those are the ones we know about. Illegally. They came here for a better life. And our system just can't cope under this.
And they don't
stress.
they get 45 quid a week.
Can you quote the law which makes them illegal?
No, I'm not a lawyer.
Tell me the law that makes it illegal.
I am not a lawyer. I don't give a stuff about the law. I don't want people coming here illegally.
Let me educate you.
Don't educate me. Don't patronise me. Don't talk to me like that.
You're calling them illegal.
Listen,
I'm asking you to quote
these people are coming in here illegally with no passports, no information, and they're paying criminals to come here. So we could quite easily put the Navy into the... We could quite easily put the Navy...
The Refugee Convention allows them to enter our country.
Well, we get rid of that because we can't... Listen, you cannot seriously suggest that we continue to take all these people that we don't know where they come from, we don't know what diseases they might have.
1951 Convention says you have to go to the first safe country. Why don't they just stay in the first safe country?
I agree, you're absolutely right.
Well, there you go then.
We don't know the background of these people.
Right.
We don't know if they're criminals. We simply... Now, who is responsible for administering and protecting our borders?
Well, we are, and we're not doing a very good job about it. The sooner
Correct.
we leave the European
Correct.
Court of Human
The border
Rights,
force
let's
is not
get out of
fit
it. Let's make
to
the French
protect our
take
borders.
you know, we are a country that there is no country that is threatening to anybody around our perimeter. They're all in safe countries. So if they come here and they're using a law, then that law needs to be got rid of.
And there he was, Ivan Sampson, talking to James, and he didn't throw him out, so that's a good thing, isn't he? So,
yes, OK, well, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Chloe
what
Dobbs.
did you think of that video, by the way, Chloe?
Well, you guys...
She told me not to ask her that. Anyway, that was the great James Wells. Same time next week at 11 p.m. We'll be playing another clip of James. You know, any suggestions?
So we wanted to do the paper slightly out of order. So apologies to the production staff here, because you wanted to start kind of with the Guardian simply because.
Yeah, I was going to say it's on the Independent as well. Just
well, let's do the Guardian just to make it easier
because stereo.
Because the front page of The Guardian says, stark warning for Starmer after election rout in Wales. So a lot of us talked about the possibility of Reform winning Caerphilly in the by-election, but in reality, Labour coming third. The people of Caerphilly basically founded the Labour Party.
I mean, Labour...
100 years they've won the Labour Party, though.
Yes, it is. So in the last election, Labour got 46% of the vote there. This time, they fell to 11%. They have been completely wiped out. And it was a two-horse race between Reform and Plaid Cymru. None of the two main parties that have dominated our politics for years and years.
It's over.
And sure, Reform didn't win, they didn't win this election, but it's pretty impressive that a party that only won 5 elections in the last general election has come out of nowhere.
5 seats.
Now became second in this, way ahead of Labour, that has held it for, as you say, 100 years. This is a huge
It's the
shift.
party over for the Uniparty, the Tories and Labour.
Exactly. So what this really signifies is a huge shift in British politics. Also, of course, I'm slightly upset that the Reform Party did not win the election, but I kind of was slightly rooting for the Plaid Cymru guy just because he's run in this seat, I think, 14 times. I think this is his 14th.
Really?
He's been doing this for decades trying to get this seat, and
his name's Lindsay and he's a man.
He's never got it because it's been a Labour heartland, and then finally he's had his opportunity, so he's all excited.
So for an extra point, how did he start his acceptance speech?
He said,
Burida.
He said, I'm not normally asked to speak first because they call
I
up
normally
the winner
have
first.
to speak second. Yeah,
Yes.
That's right. Absolutely.
I was awake to see
Do you
it.
remember when, what's his name, was the Welsh minister and he tried to fake singing the Welsh national anthem, John
Redwood.
John Redwood, and he bobbed his head and sort of opened his mouth because it's obviously in Welsh and he didn't really know it, but so he pretended by going like this.
Oh yeah, the announcement.
And it's got a false ending. He thought it was the end, and then it came back.
I can't speak any Welsh. It sounds all higgledy-piggledy
Yeah,
to me.
no, I
But
can't.
the announcement of the results was really slow because
I
after
hated
every
that.
announcement, they had to bring up a lady talking in Welsh.
What was irritating about that is, so first of all, I'm strongly in favour of the Welsh language. I'll tell you why, because I believe that your heritage as a British person should be maintained. I
and people do actually speak it, you know, they do use it.
But what makes me laugh is when people, like that returning officer, you know, he should have at least been able to. He should have been able to read it out or something in the old Welsh, but he had to have an interpreter.
Yeah.
So officially, it's the language of Wales, and the returning officer needs an interpreter.
Yeah.
My favourite though that I got told, right? So I don't know if this is true, but I got told a story from the Northern Irish Parliament, Northern Ireland Assembly, where an Ulster Unionist had learned how to speak Gaelic. Now, as you know, Belfast is not a massively Gaelic-speaking area. The outer areas
The
of
rural areas,
the rural areas are more Gaelic-speaking. So, of course, the Shinners all read out their questions in Gaelic, but can't really speak it. And he learned how to answer. They weren't willing to put the earpieces in. because they did. So they had to pretend they understood what he was saying in Gaelic, and he'd just say all sorts of
You're
stuff.
from Cornwall, and there is a link between Welsh and Cornish.
Nobody speaks Cornish in Cornwall, though. I had the only person I've ever come across who can speak Cornish is my trumpet teacher in primary school, who taught us a few words. I can't remember any of them, but it's very different. In Wales, there are people that genuinely speak Welsh, but in Cornwall, I have never met more than one person that can speak.
I like the fact now that
just as a token they put the name of a place in Cornish.
But I like the way that a lot of Welsh people are at least slightly bilingual. In the same way that most Jewish people have a crack at Hebrew, a bit like the odd word here and there.
What was absolutely hilarious is when Greta Thunberg's flotilla was moored up in Spain. A guy who spotted them on his boat decided to blast Hebrew songs on full volume at their flotilla just to annoy them.
They're quite folky.
So let's be clear. Nigel Farage is not going to win the election in Wales, is he? Because of the system, the electoral system they brought in.
So they were due. No, this is the first. This is the last. Because this by-election is the last one where it will be a first-past-the-post system.
Yeah, that's right.
My understanding.
So he won't win the election.
They've done that for a good reason.
So Chloe, I could repeat the comment.
Okay.
He won't win the next election because the new electoral system.
Sorry, I misheard you. I thought you said he lost this one because of the new system. I'm a bit, because the new system is like a hybrid, right, between first past the post, and I have to say I don't study Welsh politics deep enough to know the exact inner workings.
It's much. The long and short of it is, it's much more proportional representation.
It's basically a way to stop reform.
Basically,
it's really interesting.
Assuming nobody will go into coalition with reform, which might be a big assumption with the Conservatives, but okay. Assuming that nobody will go into coalition with reform, it is guaranteed that there will be a Labour First Minister, or there will be a Plaid Cymru First Minister, and either there will be a Labour Deputy or a Plaid Cymru Deputy. That will be the result of the Welsh Assembly elections.
Yeah, you're right, there's a good chance of that. And it's really interesting how, at the time of the general election last year and Reform's campaign in the years before that, they were constantly campaigning for PR. They desperately wanted proportional representation because they said that is the only way that Reform could possibly win a general election. I mean, none of us ever thought that they would ever possibly win a majority in a first-past-the-post system and have the keys to Downing Street without a coalition. But now we've got a megapol saying they could get 445 seats, and now it's interesting how they don't say how much they want proportional representation anymore, because they've been able to climb up in the polls so well that now first past the post is in their favour.
It's an interesting point, though, isn't it? It's kind of one of those things where they go, we feel hard done by, and then now we don't.
Yes.
Which I get, really. OK, so
rise of the female hair transplant there in the Guardian, and it's £4.20 for the Guardian for this rag. Anyway, let's have a look at
the. Shouldn't it be free if they're
surely it should be.
By the way, when they're talking about female hair transplants, I genuinely believe that women that go bald should have a hair transplant on the NHS if they want one.
And on that bombshell,
I do.
That was such a random point.
I do because I think it's the same. I think it's the same as a boob job if you've had cancer. Basically, blokes go bald, women don't. We should be supporting women. We don't.
Sexist.
No, I'd agree. A bloke being bald is not out of the ordinary, but you'd probably feel a lot more insecure about it if you're a woman.
I agree. Yeah. So how long have you been under?
It really looks surrealistic.
By the way, The Guardian is a racist rag. So.
Anyway, look, we're going to take a little break at this junction. We'll come back with the Soar Away Sun in 2 minutes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is it. This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Chloe Dobbs. We just looked at a blank screen there and weren't convinced we were back on. Asher, what's next?
Of course, it's the Sun, and there he is shopping. He's got a magazine with Walker on it, but apparently it's a tennis magazine. Jailed hotel migrant who sexually assaulted girl of 14 was set to be deported, but in an astonishing blunder, he is freed back to the streets. A hotel migrant, well, we know what's happened. He was meant to be deported, but he was released as someone being on licence and actually given £72 as well for his troubles. And obviously he's been shopping with his £72.
I thought it was a fascinating point that Chloe made earlier. Does he actually know he shouldn't have been released?
He doesn't look like he does in the picture. I mean, he probably thinks it's all right.
He's probably having a reunion dinner with his
I'm sure he is.
community.
He's probably thinking this country is amazing. It gets better and better.
Yeah.
I've done 1 month for sexually assaulting.
He was only here 8 days when he committed the crime.
Yeah, he was only here for 8 days. And I know all of us are thinking, surely if any of the community see him, they'll have all seen it all across the news. But we read the news all the time and constantly, right, because it's our jobs. And, of course, we have dedicated viewers and listeners who keep up with what's going on. But there are so many people, when you enter normal life, you talk... A lot of people, they don't even know who the Prime Minister of the country is. They've got no idea what's going on. There are so many people who will have no idea that this guy's on the loose and actually recognise his face.
If I'd have seen him looking like that, with his bag, with his swag bag, if you like, with the bag
You might just think it's a homeless guy.
No. Even if I knew who he was, I would say he's been legitimately released, as I said in the previous hour, because he's got his bag of belongings.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get... you can't escape from prison and then go back to the lockup, smash the door in and nick...
And given that he was walking so casually, chatting to
people... And he must have a piece of paper saying, you've been released.
Yeah, he wasn't running. You wouldn't think, oh gosh, this guy's on the run, I'm going to call the police.
Well, he's not actually broken any law because he's been released in a way he might not have broken any law.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously broken the law in the first place, but I mean, he hasn't escaped.
Right.
He's been let out.
If it is the case that he was told you now need to get a bus or a train and make your way to the immigration centre, and he has failed to do so, then yes, he's in the wrong. But if he has been told today's your lucky day, mate, you're out, you're being let out early, then of course he's gone on a jolly and he's come on the train to London and he's...
Do you think he'll manage to turn around his deportation now? Some lawyer will get involved and actually manage. He'll say, oh, he's been shown...
There's always a lefty human rights lawyer that will help them out. It doesn't matter how bad what they've done is, there's always one ready to line up and defend.
What upsets me is the way that those people act like they're morally virtuous.
I know.
Whereas actually they're just money-grabbing scumbags.
I know.
That's what they are.
And one of these human rights lawyers that defends the indefensible is Keir Starmer running the country. And we've got Lord Hermer running the show as well.
Let's just be clear. When they were shutting the schools for millions of children, abusing their human rights, preventing them seeing their families, when they placed the whole country under house arrest, Human Rights Act, nobody was interested. But if Jerry Adams wants to sue somebody for the quality of the porridge when he was detained for being a terrorist, they're right there. The thing is, these are ambulance chasers for murderers, paedophiles, rapists, gangland leaders. Mrs. Miggins, who gets into a bit of trouble for making an off-colour remark about a trans person, they're nowhere to be seen. Yeah. If you've blown up Manchester and you were upset about the fact you weren't allowed to get married in prison. Oh, Hermer, Starmer, they're
exactly,
all
and it doesn't make sense, it's a taxi rank principle. That's rubbish, because otherwise there's too many cases going to the same people. And I know lawyers, and they do get to choose and say no and yes and stuff.
The taxi rank, I'll tell you what, that taxi rank system is so dishonest, because first of all, you're a specialist law firm, specialist barristers' chambers specialising in a particular area, like as an example with Keir Starmer, terrorists. Let's be honest. So the solicitors only go to you because you're an expert in getting terrorists off the hook.
Yeah. He did them at libel. He represented them at libel people.
Secondly, the clerk of the chambers decides who gets the case, and he does not do it in order of who's next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, Cheltenham free 12-page racing guide in the People's Paper, The Sun, and Nadia and the West End Star. Ooh, sizzling. Anyway, let's go to the Daily Mail now. And a blunder that beggars belief. Again, it's the manhunt for Epping Asylum hotel sex attacker. An exclusive. Could King pay Andrew to leave the Royal Lodge? Well, Andrew's got to pay a lot of his lease. He's got to pay for the upkeep, and he's losing all his business deals. Now, you heard a sort of leak the other day, didn't you? And all the journalists ran to the place where he lives. There was a leak that he might be leaving, but they all ended up just standing in the cold and nothing.
Yeah, I think there was a tip off. I think from the royals themselves that something was going to happen. Maybe Andrew was going to be leaving, and you had in the middle of a storm when it's absolutely ice cold, you had all of these reporters spend the evening down at Royal Lodge whilst the King and Queen were flying back from going to see the Pope. And then nothing happened. Do
you think it was just the royals going, oh, look at the silly press getting them back?
Yeah, maybe they just wanted to be really horrible on a really windy, cold day. Or they were trying to kick Andrew out and were hoping it was going to happen that evening, and it didn't quite come to fruition. But I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on the figure, but the deal... The contract, I think, says that if they get rid of Andrew from Royal Lodge, that they have to give him 500 and something grand paid over several years.
Yeah, I imagine so.
The rest of his lease probably that he'd paid, because he paid a couple of million in, well, probably the Queen paid.
How many peppercorns did they have to pay?
I'll tell you precisely what he paid. Not precisely.
He paid a load to what renovated at the beginning, right?
Yeah. So the £1 million rent, £1.5 million, whatever it was for the rent until basically the end of his life, 2078.
Okay.
But then there was also the refurbishment, which was £7.5 million, and he has to maintain the place or let
which
it fall.
is 600,000 a year.
Or
and
let
he
it,
got that now.
Well, hang on a second. He can let it fall to bits, can't he? But he has to live in it.
Well, no, he'd be in breach of the lease.
Yeah.
The freeholder would be, which is the king, would have the right to kick him out if he's in breach of the lease by not paying the 600 grand upkeep. And all his business people are now leaving him because you don't want to be associated with him now, would you, at all? And so he's got no way. He's got rich friends, though, hasn't he? Although some of them are now no longer with us.
Even if he only has to pay a peppercorn if demanded each year, it's a 30-bedroom property. Think how much it costs to upkeep that place. You've got to have all these gardeners, people maintaining the roof.
Does he have security? He has some security there.
Yeah,
I suspect he doesn't have any security because it's within the Windsor Castle cordon.
Right.
Therefore,
but just generally around it, there's security.
Just to keep the place in good nick, you would have to employ quite a lot
just to be clear on the security, what you would do is you would just have it within the cordon. The cordon's
so in
paid
some
for
ways,
anyway.
there is a cost of the security that he's benefiting from.
Well, I would just withdraw his security pass.
Yeah,
just
he could go and live in Dubai.
You can rent the place, you just can't ever visit.
He could live with Peter Mandelson and do a YouTube like The Odd Couple.
Oh, gosh.
That'd be good. We'd all like
I think
one worrying thing is what if Prince Andrew is completely kicked out and he's no longer even in a building nearby and they send him to live somewhere else. What is he going to do? What press is he going to
Better to have him urinating out of the tent and urinating into the tent.
What books is he going to write? I mean, it's been an issue with Harry and Meghan, with them completely exiling themselves to America, is the royals, they don't have control of when they speak to the press and when they do their engagements. And so that's probably a good reason why the king is thinking about
urinating out
bringing
the tent.
Harry a little bit closer again. And they probably have the same concern with Andrew, is if they completely exile the man, what is he going to do? What is he going to say? I mean, he completely disgraced himself with all the strange things he said in that Emily Maitlis interview.
That was when he was
What other interviews is he going to do? And if he feels really scorned because he's been completely kicked out, what is he going to say about
Netflix would sign him up in a second, wouldn't they?
Well,
he could have a 10, 20 million deal or
so they
50
might
million
be
deal.
wanting to
But I think the king...
keep him at arm's length.
I think the king's preference is to kick him out of Royal Lodge, but to give him a small house on the estate behind the cordon.
He could go to Frogmore Cottage.
Frogmore Cottage is also enormous.
Okay.
It's actually 3 houses knocked into one.
But imagine they paid 100 million allegedly to Harry and Meghan. He would be quite a good big story because he's been in the royal family for what, 60 years, 65 years. He must be nearly 70 now. So, I mean, Netflix would offer a lot of money, and if he had no business deals, nowhere else to go, that would be technically his only, and maybe a book, you know what I mean? And it would sell, wouldn't it? People would be fighting to get that one.
The other option, which may sound ludicrous, is something like the governor of the Grenadines or something like that. just make him.
But no
the
one
governor.
wants him, do they?
Well,
Associated
nobody
with him.
wants him, but there are countries with like a population of 3,000. Well, and there aren't, but there are some small countries in the
just
Caribbean.
colonise them like the old days?
But the Duke, no, hang on. There are countries where the king is king. The Duke of Windsor was the governor of Jamaica, wasn't he?
Okay.
It's not Jamaica.
Why would they want
Bahamas.
Prince Andrew as their governor?
Sorry?
Why would one of these strange
But they don't choose their governor.
They won't get a choice. They'll be told.
Or
Like the old days.
the problem is with him, you have to do something with him.
All the lefties are going to scream colonialism.
No. The king is king of it anyway. Right? It's not additional colonialism.
Yeah, what about like a TV? Good idea, Chuck. Like the Philip Schofield one, where you just sit on an island and no one watches it.
Philip Schofield. Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not.
They haven't told him the show's finished. He's still there thinking they're
Just left him
filming
there.
it. Yeah.
You always knew they thought he was guilty because they let him use his vape.
Yeah.
I was innocent.
It was like Doc Cotton, wasn't he, on his vape?
Right. Do not compare him to Doc Cotton.
National treasure. FT. I had a fag with her and what's her name? What's her name? The one that used to run
Wendy
the
Richards.
Wendy Rich. I had a fag with them both outside. Anyway, the FT weekend. Trump sets off fresh tariffs alarm. It's getting even more tariffy. Way cleared for more China levies. Summit with Xi nears Canada given verbal lashing. Take that, what's your name, Mark Carney. Unbelievable how he became president, but it was all because the silly Prime Minister boomers of Vancouver said, Trump, you'll never take us over. He was only joking, and they've ruined the whole country with that buffoon who ran our bank. Welsh blow for Starmer, played victory. Heineken stirs debate on health with toast to beer's role as a social lubricant. Interesting. Beer's qualities as a social lubricant should play an important role in the debate on the harms of alcohol. It does bring us all together. And when they got rid of the cheap pints, because a lot of working class men would go out and they'd have a good 10 pints with their mate, get away from the old trouble and strife. Now if you want 10 pints, it's going to cost you 80 quid. A working man can't afford that. And then Starmer trying to ban fags and people even talking, having the Stasi in there.
It's absolutely right, because I remember I had a friend of mine who was on the murder squad at the Greater Manchester Police, and he said that in his day, the group therapy was going for a few beers after the case was finished. Whereas nowadays, and he said, in the end, the black comedy came out after about 8 pints, which I can understand. But he said that was a way of just deprogramming yourself. Nowadays, they go, alcohol is bad, let's all go to a therapist. Well, you know what? Most people, you'd be better having a few beers with your mates.
I used to see the flying squad down the Cock at Smithfield. They'd all be down there. They really were like Reagan and Terry McCann. Anyway, sorry, Chloe.
No, it's all good. Look, I don't drink, but I can see the benefits.
Don't you?
I can see the benefits to other people in other situations, and also there are so
She
many.
just smokes crack. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, there are some people that say I don't.
It's
drink
another
while
joke
they're
for all
doing
you.
Of course, it's a joke.
No.
But I can see the benefit. I mean, first of all,
it?
there are so many events that couldn't run without alcohol.
Yes.
Right. I mean, you go to university.
Who'd go and watch
The only way you
cricket?
finance it, exactly. The only way you
Speed
finance
dating.
a lot of events
Beer
is
goggles.
by having alcohol. First of all, so that. But another
Nobody
point,
would watch cricket without booze.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Wine
I mean, I don't
tasting
understand.
without
That's
wine.
maybe why I
That'd be
can't
ridiculous.
watch it. Is because I'm not
Cricket
drunk.
is
That's
so boring. You have to drink.
But on a
You have to anaesthetise yourself.
On a more serious note,
Sumo
one
wrestling.
point
A
that
pub crawl.
One point that Peter Blexley made to me that I thought was interesting is he said one of the reasons why the Windrush generation integrated so well into our society is because they like to drink. They go down to the pubs, they drink with us, they talk to us, they
I
integrate
remember the
with us.
red
However,
stripe. Red stripe, yeah.
people coming
Guinness.
from Muslim countries, they don't drink, and
Yeah,
so
that's right.
that's one reason
But that's
why.
not- but that's
we have
absolutely
issues
right
with
about social-
integration.
By the way-
not that that's the sole reason,
By the way,
but
you
it
see,
is a contributing
you
factor,
see those
right?
you see those old duffers around, right? And you go to like the Wetherspoons in Tooting, and I always think, why do they like Scotch? And somebody said to me, because in the Caribbean they like dark navy rum, but you couldn't get it in most pubs in London, so they drink whiskey instead because it's at least fairly similar. But you're right. I mean, if you're going to be from the Caribbean, you will find it easier to integrate because you're going to go to the church, you're going to go for a few pints, you're going to speak
Well, it
the
was
language.
a British culture, wasn't it, in the Caribbean? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's what it was.
Absolutely right.
Pubs generally are so important. Like, even though I don't drink, I think it's very important.
Why
to
don't you
go to
drink? Do
pubs.
you mind me asking?
various different. First of all, I
She
don't
gets
trust.
very violent and leery.
No, I think I have the addictive gene, and so
Right.
I don't trust myself. I
Okay.
don't want to take.
But
the
have you
risk.
ever drunk?
The crack's bad enough. She doesn't need another addiction. Only joking.
I was allowed to try things as a kid, like, oh, do you want to try a little bit of wine? And I never liked the taste of it.
I
The
think
only
that's
thing
true. I
ever
think
liked
having
the
it as a
taste
young
of-
kid, at least a taste, will actually make
I
you...
liked the taste of a few sweet things like Baileys, for example, but but that was it really.
But very few-
but also
very
just
few-
I'm a bit
Very
of a
few
health
drinkers.
freak,
Very few
so-
drinkers are Baileys drinkers. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you like a Baileys, you don't have 6 pints of it, do you?
Exactly. But yeah, I think pubs. One thing, because we've got Rachel Reeves on the front of
By the way,
eye.
I've got to tell you when I first drunk.
Yeah.
So we used to go to this rugby club, and my dad, we used to drink shandy. And my dad used to pick up
Shandy.
my dad used to pick up the beer and the drink, and he'd go, "That's out the pump, that is. You can't have that." We didn't know what that meant. We had no idea what normal shandy or out the pump was. Well, one's non-alcoholic and one's alcoholic, but he failed to explain this.
Oh.
So we became shandy drinkers. Now, I remember on my
Southern shandy
my
drinkers.
uncle's 40th birthday, I was about 8.
Okay.
Right, and I was drinking shandy, and I was mixing it myself.
And you didn't think
I
it was
got
alcoholic?
langured.
Oh, no.
But all that happened
Never
was...
look
Taste
back,
the
have you? Never
alcohol.
look back.
All that happened was... Well, I mean, it was only a small glass, right?
Okay.
But I must have had about 6 or 7 of them.
And you were hammered.
And everyone was accusing me of being drunk, but I just went to sleep.
They
and
used
that
to
was it.
sell to kids this alcoholic drink, but it was 0.5%. But
Baby sham.
Yeah, no, but it was a shandy. I can't remember what it was called. Double bass or something.
Well, I was reading.
It was by Bass. Yeah,
I was
Bass.
reading Samuel Pepys, and what he did was, so everyone drank beer because obviously the water in the Thames was full of excrement.
Porter, they called it
is
porter,
now.
didn't they?
No, they used to drink beer. There's
People
porter
used to
type-
just drink beer, because the water.
Yeah,
was
because you
too
don't get
dirty.
typhoid from
What
it.
I hadn't realised was the beer itself was incredibly weak.
Yes.
It was like 0.5%
2%.
alcohol,
Oh, really?
or whatever. So literally, they drink it for breakfast, but it wasn't
And they'd
strong
just
in
be
any way.
I thought it was
slightly
about 2%.
inebriated all the
Yeah, it was
time.
probably maybe 2%.
Yeah.
But
But it killed the bugs.
He used to go for his morning draft, which was his morning pint, at 8 o'clock in the morning. But when he went to the pub, he used to have a pint of wine.
Yeah.
Order a pint of wine, please.
Never did him any
Pint of
harm, did
wine.
it?
Pint of wine,
Where's a pint
because
of
he
wine?
drank beer just normally because that's what he drank.
Yeah,
I think if
that
he
was a
went out
special
socially,
treat.
he had a pint of wine.
Well, at least you don't have to keep ordering another glass.
Yeah, it
then,
saves
you
a lot
just
of that,
order a
mate.
whole-
Pints of
order a
It's just
wine.
half a bottle, isn't it, really? Or maybe 3/4.
And you know what? Next time we go out for Asher and I've never been for a drink, though we will do.
We've
one
been
day.
on the tube. We have been for a drink at Wimbledon, and we've been out. We've been a couple of drinks.
Oh, when we messed dinner
We've
at
been
Wimbledon.
We've had we've been for a few. drinks.
Sorry, going for a drink at James Whale's funeral does not count.
Yeah.
Nobody ostensibly would accept that counts
called
as
dra-
going.
that's called
We went for a
drowning your
drink.
sorrows.
It was at his funeral.
Yeah.
Well, it still counts. It's still booze.
Anyway, yeah, we bumped into each other on the tube system today. Totally unbelievable. Quite
Chances of
strange.
that.
Oh, by the way,
Kismet,
he
yeah.
has taught us a trick, right? I'm sorry, I don't care
taught him a hack.
what the viewers and listeners are interested. Right, if you go to the end of, London Bridge, if you
Don't
go to
tell
the
everyone.
end of the Jubilee line platform, you can get
Anyway,
a lift
don't
all the
tell
way
him we're
up
going to take a
to
break. Don't tell him.
the top of the stage.
Oh wow! I'm sure that the viewers that all live in the north.
No, I
of the
don't care
country
what
are-
people think about it.
Don't tell them the
Ship's
secrets.
all going down. Back
Anyway,
to
we're going to
drinking.
leave all that there because
don't
we're going
care.
to say we can't give away our secrets. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the oh my God, let's not do this. This is the press preview with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. We're having a long conversation about the lifts at News UK. Not even I am boring.
Each shaft has 7 lifts in it. It's
Right.
very technologically advanced.
Yeah, so certain floors don't go to certain floors because it odds and evens. Anyway, it's boring. Right, let's do the next paper.
It's the Daily Mirror, Epstein scandal fallout, and it goes on and on. Disgraced Andrew in advanced talks with King Charles to give up sprawling 30-room mansion. Looks like a nice place. Prince Andrew may finally quit his Royal Lodge home after the King's team stepped up the attempt to get him out. He was said to be in advanced talks to end his rent-free stay. Andrew also faced fresh calls to testify in the US over his links to Lake Bidwell. He won't know, will he? If he does, he'll do it on Zoom because he wouldn't want to step foot there, would he?
He has absolutely no humility. I'm sure he probably thinks that there is a way back for his reputation.
I think there is.
He hasn't. He
You think
hasn't
there is?
stepped down. He hasn't stepped down gracefully, knowing it's all over. He was pushed. He was told, "You either do this, or we're going to get an Act of Parliament."
I do think there is.
How could he redeem himself?
How could he redeem himself? Go to the United States of America and face the charges and win. And I'm not saying he's innocent. What I'm saying is that what he should do now. Well, if he is innocent, and I know nobody believes he's innocent, but he should go to America, go to court, win the case. Of course.
Well, if he loses,
well,
the
if he
case
loses,
will
he
be
goes
a lot worse than he started.
But hang on a second.
Right?
Somebody said, if he's innocent, how does he redeem himself? Win is the way you redeem yourself. The problem is nobody believes you pay £12 million to somebody who's lying.
Exactly.
Also, the other thing is when he says I've never met this woman,
and then there's a picture.
The email to Jeffrey Epstein. Do you know what the email would have been if it was me? Who's this nutter that's accusing me? His email is, how do we discredit her? Not, who is she?
She wrote in her autobiography, which is after posthumously published, she said that they tried to make her sign a year-long NDA agreement so the Queen wouldn't hear of anything when they paid her out, but she didn't sign it.
Yes, the other interesting thing in that book is it says, and there was a well-known Prime Minister that also raped her, but it comes out different in the US version of the book versus the British version. So the US version says Prime Minister, whereas the UK version of the book says former minister. So we don't know if she's talking about a prime minister, which would very much narrow down
down to one,
or
wouldn't it?
just someone who is a minister.
Yeah, if she was talking about former prime minister, it would narrow it down to one.
Yes,
let's be realistic.
not alive for us to ask her.
No, sure.
Sadly.
I'll tell you.
But that's opened another can of worms. But interestingly, people haven't paid much attention to it.
I'll tell you the other thing that's very interesting about this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. So we said yesterday, isn't it amazing that only the British people have been punished, which I think is a remarkable thought. Mandelson, Prince Andrew, and Ghislaine Maxwell. But I think there's another point to make, which is that it's about time all the allegations were properly looked at. But I don't know. I just worry that in America they have deliberately hidden all of this. And I'll tell you the final point I'd make. Isn't it amazing? I think the reason why it's not been as big in America, why they haven't had to go at people, is because the book is nice about Donald Trump. It says, I worked at Mar-a-Lago, he was a very nice bloke, he's never done anything bad.
And he threw Epstein out when he found out about him.
And what they wanted, what the American media would have investigated this properly if she'd have said that Donald Trump was involved. But the fact she didn't, and actually went the other way, said that he'd behaved honourably at all times. That's the reason why every American's got away with it.
Yeah, so I think Donald Trump now saying, oh, I'm not going to release a list, there wasn't a list, it's fake news, etc. A lot of people have gone, oh, that must be because you're on it. But I'm not sure about that, because if he was on it, the Democrats, when they were in power, would have been very quick to get that out and tarnish, ruin Donald Trump's reputation, and they didn't do so. But I'm also not convinced that there's no list and it's all just fake news.
I think that he needs to protect.
There are a lot of people who have a lot of money who will be on that list, who will have used that money to stop anything being released.
I think the problem is this. What CNN and what the BBC want to do is conflate two things. Being on a list of contacts where you have it, where Jeffrey Epstein has your phone number, with going to the island and hanging around his house. Donald Trump is clearly on the contact list. Right, but what he's not is somebody who's been to the island, he's not been on the plane, and he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago when he discovered everything. And Virginia Giuffre has been nice about him.
He's also, we know, he's not into girls, is he? He's into, women younger than himself, but grown-up women, that's for sure. And we also know Professor Stephen Hawkwind was on the list, and he's not, we don't know what happened with him.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, he's not, look, let's be clear. Stephen Hawking has not raped anyone because it's just not physically possible for him to. I'm not joking. It's just not physically possible for him to do it. So I think there are people on the list, and there are people who've behaved badly, but. No, nobody's interested in investigating the Clintons. Nobody's interested in investigating the former minister or prime minister, and the reason is because Donald Trump wasn't implicated. Yeah. And if Donald Trump's not implicated, the lefties in Britain, they didn't want to talk about Mandelson. They wanted to talk about Prince Andrew because they see it as a way of bringing down.
And they want this gone away. I mean, it's quite clear. The top autopsy man said there's no way Epstein hanged himself. When you hang yourself, it goes up your ears, the divot. This went round the back of his neck. He was clearly strangled. The cameras didn't work for that.
Yeah, the cameras got turned off.
We know what basically happened, and there's a lot of people protected. You're never going to get powerful people like that, are you?
Nothing says completely innocent like the cameras were turned off before he died. Yeah. Nothing says completely innocent.
Anyway, we've got a little break here. We've got Chloe Dobbs here. It's me and Andre. It's Talk, and more papers on your call. 03444991000. It's going to be all your calls in the last hour. We'll be back in just a jiffy. Don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is talk, and I just want to talk about the most important issue of the day with Asher Gould and Chloe Dobbs, which is the issue of Councillor Liz McCabe, who's the former Deputy Provost of Argyll and Bute Council. She has been suspended, having behaved appallingly badly. And do you know what she did, Chloe?
What's that, man?
She claimed that the flower beds in the centre of town were a shambles and had not been tended to properly. The council have disciplined her, and she had breached the code
Disciplined?
Yeah, she has breached...
It's a hate crime against flowers.
She has breached the code of conduct because apparently the main town of Rothesay is a popular tourist resort, and to describe the flowers as a shambles might put tourists off visiting.
It's a good
What?
point.
There's no free speech in this council. How can you be disciplined for simply saying the council aren't doing a good job? Isn't that your job?
Well, it should
if
know
you're at a council,
the
is
Scottish,
to have constructive criticism.
the Standards Commission of Scotland ruled that the comment saying the flowers were a shambles was inherently disrespectful to the person who's
flowers.
currently did the job.
It was
looking
offensive
after
to the
flowers.
gardener.
By saying the individual had no experience or clue, Councillor McCabe was inferring that they should not have done their job. The council concluded
That's a
that
good point,
McCabe
yeah.
had breached the code of conduct, requiring councillors to be respectful and refrain from criticising the performance, conduct or capability of staff in public. I have to
When
say...
they put it like that, it makes sense. Put them, throw them in prison and chuck
No
away the
wonder
key.
I have to say,
we are spending so much money and have such a bloated state because all the councils, all the civil servants, anyone who's paid by the
nice.
state, you can't criticise them and fire them.
They're
if they
nice
don't do a
flower
good,
beds.
efficient job.
Let me tell you this. I wish that more of Britain was like the Isle of Bute, because clearly the problems that they have in Rothesay are like Britain used to have problems. Oh my goodness me, the council. It's like, do you remember Tenko, that programme about them all being prisoners of war?
Yeah.
And
She's not going to remember that.
They'd all be beaten up, and then somebody'd go, "That bloody shit did this to me." They'd go, "Susan, how dare you swear?" Right? And they're living in filth and squalor and eating whatever.
Standards.
Anyway, I want to say hello to Councillor Liz McCabe, the former Deputy Provost, and
We're here in solidarity with you.
does anyone
Used to be a Liz McCabe worked here.
Does anyone know, just a bonus point, who the Duke of Rothesay is?
No.
The Duke of Rothesay, isn't that
Is it
Prince William?
Is it Mr. Motivator?
It's one of the royal titles. It's the one used, I think it's used by the Prince of Wales when he's in Scotland. Let's check that out. The Duke of Rothesay. All right, Asher, what else have we got? I want to talk about Zelensky. Now we've
Zelensky, give us the planes, give us the Tomahawk missiles, the plane. No, right, apparently there's a royal welcome and number 10 hug for Zelensky ahead of Ukraine war talks. He likes the small Ukrainian, doesn't he, Starmer? Starmer in firing line over historic by-election defeat. PM is target of Labour blame.
No.
You want to go on Zelensky?
No, what he did there, Chloe, what they both did, viewers and listeners, was I said I wanted to talk about Zelensky's visit, so they said during the break, we don't care about Zelensky, it's boring. Right, then what happened was, I said, well, we got to do the front page of The Independent. So whilst I was looking to check whether the Duke of Rothesay was in fact Prince William,
I snuck onto the other
he read
story.
that and then moved on immediately.
To the main story.
We're all commenting on Zelensky's
Okay,
visit.
let's go back to plane. Give us the Tomahawk missiles. What's going on with Zelensky?
He's trading his knowledge on drones in exchange for Tomahawk missiles, isn't he, in the United States of America? They are now the world's leader in military drone technology, way above the Americans, way above the Chinese, and of course, I need hardly say, far ahead of us. What
Well,
do you
the
think?
Israelis led the drone. I think that's bigger drones, but now they know they can destroy $50 million tanks with a $2,000 drone.
Yeah,
it's really changed the face of warfare, and they blew up their nuclear fleet of planes in Russia, and they say they haven't got the technology to build these planes. They were 40 years old. They were bought when Russia was at its height, so they destroyed about a third of their that arsenal, and they can't rebuild it. I mean, these drones are causing immense damage.
Yeah, I mean, the Ukrainians, after all these years of war now, they've become very, very advanced in that area, and And it's very useful. I mean, we're hearing now that the Met Police, they are bringing out drones to go to the scenes early before the police arrive to help them solve crimes quicker. I mean,
I quite like that idea. They've rolled that out
I'm
in
still
Dubai.
waiting for Amazon to start dropping off my parcels with drones, because they hyped us up about that a few years ago, and I'm yet to see it happen.
Yeah, apparently in Dubai what happens is the minute you dial 999, a drone comes to watch what's going on, which really puts off the criminals. Say you're a victim of street crime, which I admit is pretty rare in the United Arab Emirates. They just run off because they know the drone's coming. I quite like that.
Imagine if we had that every time somebody shoplifted in this country.
They do pizza deliveries in
Except
America.
the police don't ever turn up, let alone late in this country. But I mean, Starmer and Zelensky. Look, it's important for the European nations to talk to each other and see where they're all at, but ultimately it is Trump that is the bigger power in the West. It is up to Trump whether he gives Zelensky those Tomahawk missiles. I think Keir Starmer, he thinks that the only place where he's doing well as a prime minister is on the world stage, or at least initially. And so, because domestically everything is a total car crash, and so he is desperate.
But that Trump mock the other day was
to say, I hosted this conference. Look how much of a big important nation we are in the United Kingdom.
But look what happened in Egypt with Trump.
Statesman-like prime minister.
Look what happened in Egypt though when Trump walked in front of him. At the mic. That was
and what was really embarrassing for Keir Starmer, made him look irrelevant, is when Trump bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities, and Starmer clearly knew nothing about it, because he'd said like the day before to Beth Rigby, like, no, that's not going to happen, definitely not. Starmer's pretty irrelevant on the world stage compared to Trump, let's be honest.
But that also says they can't share with our intelligence forces anymore because there'll be leaks because it's infiltrated.
We were infiltrated by the Chinese. We all are. Same two names every time. Just remember them at home. Always the same two names. Always the same two names. So we've got an ongoing joke on this show. Not about the fact that we have any way of knowing who, if there are Chinese spies at the top of government, but every single ludicrous decision that is taken by the British government in favour of China against our own national interests, the names Richard Hermer and Jonathan Powell are associated with them. Always the same two names. Probably not spies, but always the same two names. By the way, Zelensky now has altered his suit choice, hasn't he?
Oh, it sort of looks half like a suit now, doesn't it?
Yes, I was going to mention that. But on the China thing, have you heard about the spy boats around our port that we're renting in the Chagos Islands?
No. Have they got drone boats?
Well, so we've given the Chagos Islands away conveniently to China's ally. We've given them the keys to our house and then said, can we pay to rent it?
Yes.
And we've all raised the alarm bells and said, hang on, Mauritius is an ally of China, and also the terms of the deal say that we will have to alert Mauritius anytime we're going to launch an attack from there. It's clearly going to go straight to China. But now there have been big issues where Chinese spies have been seen on boats around the Diego Garcia military base trying to get as much information as they can, which we all expected. But as you say, when you've got people like Hermer advising on whether we should give away the Chagos Islands, what do you expect? But anyway, Zelensky's suit.
Are you worried about your family's slave plantation? Which is in Mauritius. He's got a historical family slave plantation in Mauritius.
I do not.
Sorry, shouldn't I
My
have said
family
that?
have a small shareholding in a sugar plantation in Mauritius. It's a historic thing. It's a historic thing. Just bad joke.
Anyway, Zelensky's suit. Why can't he put a proper outfit on? I'm sorry.
Because
Trump
he deliberately doesn't wear a normal suit because he's at war.
Do you remember Foster Menswear when they make fashionable suits and we'd all... Because you used to have to wear in our day when you're 18, you have to wear a stupid suit and shoes and we'd end up with things like that from Foster Menswear or Top Man,
Ciro Citero.
Going into the millionaire's nightclub.
I don't like black on black. I want to be able to see the difference between where your suit is and where your shirt is.
It looks like the Milk Tray Man a bit.
He's supposed to look like a military leader. By the way, were you still...
He doesn't.
In my day, there were times when you had to wear a suit to go to a nightclub.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. And we'd be there at 16, Cheero Chibumbaclot, and you go in and you'd stand at the millionaire.
Sergio Giorgini.
Yeah. And no trainers and all that,
So when we were kids, To go to a nightclub, you had to wear a full
like
suit.
a business suit and a
Really?
tie and a tie and
Oh
everything.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You must get some quite expensive clothes ruined with.
No, you
booze
never
being
got any
spilt all
expensive
They
over.
were made of plastic. They were very flammable.
Were they all Primark suits?
They didn't have Primark.
No, you used to
it
go
was
to-
either Topman, Burton's, Foster's.
Foster's Ciro Citero, or whatever they called.
That was the posh one.
That was the posh
We
one.
had a few.
'Cause it was
And what,
100
did,
quid.
and what did the girls wear? Did they have to wear fancy
Oh,
dresses
I mean,
as well?
you could go first.
Ball gowns, things like
For
that.
SULT. You could be all right if you wore anything you wanted. You'd be all right.
So, yeah, it's...
Not to wear a suit.
but no,
that was garbage. We're all listening to 2 Unlimited at Mr. Smith's in Warrington in a
the
suit.
Hitman and Her,
There
do you
was
remember?
you could always tell when it was a townies night as opposed to a university students' night at the nightclubs.
Oxford.
Yeah, because the students would either be wearing jeans and a t-shirt, or if they've come from an event, they might be in a suit. But when the townies come out, I mean, the women, they go all out. They've made sure they've done their full fake tan and their slug eyebrows, and they'll all be wearing like the most ridiculously slutty outfits where barely any of them is covered. Whereas the students, we just go in jeans and a t-shirt like normal people.
Well, no, I'm
And they have to be in huge the townies, the girls, they have to be in huge platform heels.
Is it true?
They have to have more.
Is it true at Oxford University they used to shout at Oxford Brook students, your dad works for my dad, your dad works for my dad, nah, 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 nah.
I've never heard that.
Is that true?
But the thing we always say is Brooks, not books.
Do you know about the Hitman and Her nightclub show?
Yes, I love that.
Did you learn about that in history at school? It was Peter,
No.
it was Pete Waterman and Michaela Strap-on, and they used to go to clubs, right? And then one week it changed, and suddenly they were in this club with all suits every week and all this top man suits and all. And then one week, Pete Waterman and Michaela Strap-on ended up in a rave club, and they all looked confused. They go, "What's going on?" It was like 1989, and suddenly rave had come into the nightclubs, and all the suits had gone. And Pete Waterman didn't know what was going. Michaela Strap-on, she was all right. She's quite youthful, but
Does
Pete
Michaela
Waterman was going, "What's going
Does
on, man?"
Michaela Strap-on have this name for a reason?
No, that's not a real name.
She's the one who does wildlife.
No, it was like this. It was like this. We're at the park in Chorley tonight. Come on.
And it'd be in the suits like this. Yeah.
This is Time Rider Cocoon.
Oh my God.
And then just one week they were all ravers in hats, and Pete Waterman didn't know what he was doing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Anyway,
This
we're
is
gonna
a
go-
great bit. This is it.
Very
And they had
spooky.
video effects like this. Oh yeah, this is the music, isn't it?
Oh my God.
And you remember Wiggy? There was a black guy with a massive wig, and he led the dancing. And
Don't
I met him once, and he never got paid
Do
anything.
you know him? He was just a member of the public
Yeah,
who
he just went for
volunteered.
free.
to
Every
talk.
I
week
have no
he'd go to
idea
the
what you're
club.
talking about, but your dancing is
You
hilarious.
should have learned about this in history, Chloe.
I know,
really.
well, education's gone
Mr.
down the
Smith's
drain
in
this
Warrington.
country.
What is it? The park in Chorley. Roxy's. Where was Roxy's?
Pagoda Park.
I watched the classic
I have no
episode.
There
idea
was
what you're
Roxy's
talking
everywhere.
about.
And Millionaire. There was always ones called Millionaires and that. And
Heaven and Hell in
Can you
Burnley.
stop that now. It's a bit.
I have absolutely
We'll get a
no idea
copyright
what you're
strike.
talking about. No idea.
Oh my God! That
Anyway,
was it,
Chloe,
man.
it's all over for tonight now. What are you doing? Anything to talk about? Where can we find you online? It's Reasoned, isn't it?
Reasoned on YouTube, or if you just look up my name on other platforms,
Chloe
you'll find
Dobbs.
me.
You
Yes.
also did that Channel 4 programme, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Dobbs and Policy.
It's a Channel 4 programme. It's called Go Back to Where You Came From.
And on
Okay.
You
Twitter,
wanna
where
watch
do we
it on
follow
the
you on
Channel 4
Twitter?
player. It's all at Dobbs and Policy.
Yeah, what's your phone number? No, don't say that.
By the way, to those of you who've made jokes about Stephen Hawking and Kaiser Soze, we get the joke, but we're not going to read it out. The best ones have done your head. We're going to be taking your calls in a couple of moments. 0344 499 1000. Just to remind you, one of the great things you can do is get in your phone. Look, this Time Rider Cocoon. What you do is you get Talk Open on WhatsApp, and then you just open it up and you press this button and you can leave us a voice message which we can then play out live on the show. Please do send us one of those because they're absolutely fantastic. We can use them at any point in the show and you don't even have to argue with us. OK, Asher, we going to a break?
Yeah, it's non-stop calls, and it's tomorrow in a couple of minutes, so stay with us on Talk, me and Andre.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, well, this is the calls. Andre Walker and Asher Gould. We have got 3 slots available on the phones. 03444991000. That means that if you phone now, you should get through. Okay, let's go straight to Tristan in Southend.
Hello, Andre. Hello, Ash. Great music before the break. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you. If I may, could I do a quick appeal and then get to...
Can I get a latte, please, Castle?
Oh, you made me cuckoo! You made me cuckoo! Fantastic!
Is that Tristan? Is that you? Is it? You sound a bit different.
Do I? Yes, definitely.
Have you got something stuck in your throat or something? You sound like your voice has gone up an octave.
What would he be swallowing at this time of night?
Swallowing at this time.
Oh, you'd like to know, Andre.
No, he wouldn't.
Right, okay. First thing, I've lost my Star of David somewhere in Southend. If anyone has seen it, please hand it in. I've had it.
Star of David,
years.
a gold medallion. And what's the size of it in the Southend area?
About 1 inch. So if anyone can find it, please, please, please let me know. I'm devastated because.
Well, yeah. Was that given to you by a relative when you were young or something?
Yeah, when I was about 20, it was left to me. I'll never be able to afford to replace it. So please.
But it's not the cost. That was given to you by a person.
Exactly. Yeah, but please hand it in.
That's about 50 years ago then. If you were 20.
Yeah, very funny.
What did you call in about, Tristan? Apart from keep your lookout for the Star of David.
Okay, so I need to be serious just for a moment in relation to this escaped.
Yes.
Well,
because you're in Essex.
Sex offender.
I am indeed.
Child
I want
sex
to say,
offender.
firstly, if you see this guy and you're tempted to wrestle him to the ground or whatever else, don't bother. If you put one bruise or one injury on him, it will be you.
Well, just call the police if you see him out and about.
Exactly. Yeah, but I don't want anyone getting a prison.
That's a very good point, because in the perverted world that we live in, and I mean perverted not in the sexual sense, but in the perverted world that we live in, if you lay a finger on him, if you throw him on the floor, you will get a longer sentence than him.
Exactly. And secondly, please calm the Facebook posts down and the X ones tonight.
What does that mean?
Some of them have been borderline illegal, and in Essex in particular, our police and crime commissioner is a nightmare. He will prosecute for the slightest little indiscretion on X. So please don't get yourself into trouble, guys.
Yeah, that was the Alison Pearson, wasn't that? They were
That's
the police.
Correct.
They do a lot of. Although apparently they're going to drop these non-crime hate incidents.
Well, that's the Met.
Oh, is it just the Met?
He's in Essex.
Yeah, Essex is a different story. They're very strict here.
Well, some of Essex is in the Met, to be fair, but not the bit you're on.
Can I mention one other thing?
Yes.
A police car tonight here in Southend, up the road from me, did a flip onto its roof. It is totally crushed.
Whoa.
I hope.
And the officer's okay?
I really hope they are, but it doesn't sound like it's good. I just want to say to all their families and their colleagues, my thoughts are with you tonight, because they have been good to me over the course of time. So if I could throw that into the conversation.
All right.
Please.
Thank you for calling us, Tristan. Anything else? Was that it?
No, Tristan, I just wanted to ask you for some of your updates, because did you see that thing? I'm sorry to just throw this at you, but did you see that thing where somebody had put a microchip into somebody's eye and they'd been able to see, having been blind for a long time?
I heard about it.
Wow.
2 people they've managed to give their sight back to. And do you remember me discussing on your show when I was in the studio that I'd see again within my lifetime?
I thought that, because if you look at Neuralink by Elon Musk, the speed at which he went, NASA could never land rockets like him. He comes along and he's landing rockets upside down. It looks like the footage is reversed. He will invent a Neuralink chip, an eye that will link to your brain and your optical centre, and hopefully you'll be able to see
Just to remind everybody, Tristan has always had epilepsy, and the problem is obviously when he has epileptic fits, sometimes he goes down hard and has caused himself to go blind.
You touched your retinas, didn't you, in an epileptic fit? And there's a hope this could replace the retinas.
But you've always said that you believe in the fullness of time, A, you'll be cured of epilepsy, but B, you'll get your sight back.
That's it. So just the epilepsy to go, and I cannot wait for these implants. So
And the thing is, not just the Neuralink, the AI will medically be able to work much quicker than millions of human top researchers in, a few hours. It could come up with a cure. It's just how it will be executed, which again could. So it is an optimistic future.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Moorfields Eye Hospital, for pioneering.
Well, I've been there a couple of times, haven't I, Moorfields? It's fantastic down Moorfields.
Your accident.
I had a couple of accidents and I ended up within 6 months twice in Moorfields, and they're great. All right, Moorfields, up the Moorfields.
Failure to take out your contact lenses properly is not an accident.
All right, an incident.
Yeah.
All right, Tristan, thanks so much. Let's go to Phil in Worthing. Phil, you're on talk.
Evening, Andre. Evening, Ash.
Morning.
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 Hey, how are you? Right.
We're all right.
Ash, I wanted to chat to you about Millionaires and Pagoda Park.
Yeah, do you remember, man? Yeah. The Dome. Remember the Dome?
Yeah, I'm a bit older than you, though, Ash. So Pagoda Park was Snobs when I went there before.
No, Snobs is a different club. That was on the corner.
It was on the corner, wasn't it?
Yeah, Snobs has moved now. I had a mate once who was getting a cab at Snobs, and suddenly he was about to get in, and then a naked man come in and punched him and nicked his cab. And what had happened is, he was on his stag do, and his mates had stripped him, and so he just basically...
He just needed to go home.
He was going, punched my mate and nicked his cab. That was at Snobs.
I wanted to go to a nightclub in Sheffield called Bed. I got into a taxi with a very nice Asian gentleman and went, "Can you take me to Bed?" I went, "How dare you? Get out! Get out! Get out!"
What, is he Welsh?
I went, "No, the nightclub Bed." And he went, "Oh, right, oh, yeah, I see."
Ash, I tried to get into my 23rd birthday party, and I'm being polite.
I'm not doing the proper impersonation.
You are.
At Millionaires, I tried to get in my 23rd birthday party. Let all my mates go in first to be polite with our suits on so we get past the bouncer, because I was the most drunk. And the bouncer stopped me and said, "You're not coming in," so I didn't get into my own birthday. Brilliant.
No. Did you ever go down the Rum Runner, which was the sort of birthplace of New Romantic? It's where Duran Duran began.
Oh, yeah.
The Rum Runner.
I went there with John Taylor, who was a friend of mine.
Oh, right, because John Taylor, part of Duran Duran. So he was a mate of yours. And he set up he set up the Institute. He's a big Villa fan. He set up the Institute in Digbeth, which was the first purpose-built rave club. It was great, the Institute.
Here's a story, Ash. He became a Villa fan because he was from the posh end of our village, and I was from the working class end, and I took him down to football because his dad wouldn't let him go.
Where's he from, Solihull or something? What was he?
No, yeah, he was from up by the sort of Solihull end of Whittle.
So did you know all the Duran people?
Only the one, only John Taylor, although Simon Le Bon's mum used to go shopping for vegetables, and my mum is a strange story, but there we go.
Because he's actually a Pinner man. He's the one that isn't from Birmingham.
Yes, a lot of them from the others, and yet they've all got the surname Taylor, three of them, and none of them are related.
Yeah, I mean, and Boy George, he used to live it, because this is where the centre of New Romantic, and he lived above Walsall Market, Boy George, with the Zig Zig Sputnik, what was his name? I knew the family, actually.
Oh, yeah.
The Zig Zig Sputnik
Zig Zig Sputnik family, yeah. What's her name? Martin, what was his name? I can't remember.
But he had a stall in the Oasis Market, I think, didn't he? Selling records.
Yeah.
And
I think Karma Chameleon, because they lived in Karma in Warsaw, which is Coldmore, where Noddy Holder's from. And I think Karma Chameleon, I reckon they called him that because he looked like a chameleon, Karma Chameleon, but it'd be interesting to find out.
Possibly. Nice talking to you about Birmingham anyway.
Degville, wasn't it? Martin Degville.
Martin Degville, that was it.
Yeah.
And I used to go
the sad thing. Do you know the sad thing?
The Jester.
Do you know the sad thing?
I bet you were always down the Jester, weren't you? Oh, you were?
The sad thing is, Phil, all those nightclubs are gone now. Kids nowadays are just all on apps, aren't they?
Yeah.
Lol, you look hot.
Do you remember Nightingales? Yeah. It was where the transvestite club, Nightingales.
Nightingales. Gosh, there's so many. And they've all gone now, haven't they? So sad what's happened to Birmingham City Centre.
Do you remember the Queensway? Do you remember Queensway Snooker Club? I used to go there, and George, the owner, won it in a poker match. 2 floor with about 50 snooker tables. He won it in a poker game, yeah.
Do you remember the Gary Owen Club down in Small Heath? The Irish Club?
Oh, the Irish Club, I remember the Irish Club, yeah. Do you remember the Porsche Club? The Porsche Club up Moseley, in Moseley Village?
Gosh, yeah.
A lot of reggae, dub reggae.
You're a Harborne, weren't you, I think?
Yeah, I was a Harborne man, yeah.
Yeah, nice area, posh area.
Posh area.
Yeah, nice. I used to work at Edgbaston on the Hackney Road for a few years.
Where did you work there? At the Strathallan?
No, just by
TGI Fridays.
If you say the name of the pub, I remember it.
The Plough and Harrow. The Plough and...
Stop everyone. Ash... Yeah. Did you ever grab a granny at the Tower Ballroom?
Oh, whatever. That was tradition, wasn't it? That was
Edgbaston Reservoir.
That was, the rites of passage.
Grab a granny. Grab a granny.
That was down the Hagley Road.
No, so you've got to bring us in on the joke. What was
it was a Tower Ballroom, was a sort of older person's nightclub, wasn't it? And opposite Liberty, was it opposite the Liberties?
Opposite Liberties on the corner, on the small.
Was it the Ivy Bush?
But the problem is, grab a granny. I bet because you were all teenagers, I bet the grannies were actually about 28.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like they weren't actually old.
Well, no, I mean, people in Birmingham were grannies by the time they were 28. Back in the 80s.
Faces. A final one before I go. Don't forget Faces at Five Ways. That was a good one.
I used to go there in the shopping centre. It was a weird one up the...
So is Degville actually a place, or are you just making that up?
Degville, Martin Degville, Zig Sputnik, the Degville Warsaw family.
Sputnik, the Warsaw family.
There's a whole community of Birmingham people just getting involved now.
Well, there's quite a big music scene down in Birmingham and the Black Country and all around there.
Yeah. UB40.
I mean, it was heavy metal, of course, the New Romantics, the UB40, Two-Tone, Coventry, and all.
Yeah, the Coventry scene, and it was UB40 had their first gig in the Hare and Hounds at King's Eater.
I had my first gig in Hare and Hounds in King's Eater.
But it's UB40.
So did Toy Wilcock.
Is UB40 not a bit lame doing reggae if you're a white guy?
Yeah, but there was black guys in it. I mean, they slagged them off. But a lot of the people who were properly into reggae, if you listen to some of the old stuff of UB40, it's brilliant.
It is.
Astro and all that is fantastic.
And there was no racial problems in the nightclubs.
There was no white guys and black guys. I was saying this in the 80s. People in the States, you were like brothers, weren't you? It didn't matter about black and white. And now it's actually a lot separated, isn't it?
I think it's not as separated as people say.
Maybe not. I don't
anyway,
know.
Lovely talking to you, lads. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Phil. That's Phil.
All right, a bit of a change in pace. Ken in London.
Let's say about your clubs you used to go in Glasgow. Away you go, Ken.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
It's been a lovely day.
Time for your sermon.
I would like to, I've been 45 years now as a born-again Pentecostal Christian. I would like to talk about my black Christian friends.
Okay, go for it.
How they've been such a wonderful blessing to me in my life for 45 years. Most of my Christian friends are actually black, either from UK.
Because you tend to the churches that you like tend to be the very the sort of black African churches that do attract people who are immigrants from Africa.
Wonderful, they're wonderful.
They are good fun.
You know what I've found in general, there's no perfect Christian. Nobody's perfect on earth except Jesus. But I found my Christian brothers from Africa and the Caribbean or the UK are genuinely honest believers in Jesus. They're loving, they're friendly people. And they publicly state their belief and love for Jesus openly. That's what I love about them. They're not ashamed to say, I love Jesus.
Yeah, and we have moved away from that in Britain, haven't we? We aren't as willing to stand up for our religion and our culture.
People are embarrassed by it, aren't they? Although apparently it's all changing round now.
Well, hopefully it does, but I think that might be a bit too exaggerated. Hopefully it does, Naz.
Ken's flipped
out. Sorry, Ash. Sorry,
He's lost. Ken, come back, Ken.
Here.
Yeah.
They love the. I'm so proud to have so many black African Christian friends. It's been such a wonderful blessing to me in my life. 45 years now I've been going to black Pentecostal churches. The ministers, the brethren, they're wonderful Christians, and they're a tremendous blessing to this country. The Christians who immigrate to this country legally, they're a tremendous blessing to us.
But we don't do enough for them, certainly not in places like Nigeria.
Well, 70,000 murdered, I think.
Andre. That's a shameful thing.
Correct.
The murders of the Christians in Nigeria and all over Africa.
Well, and Syria as well at the moment. That's going on and the world isn't talking about. There's ethnic cleansing, there's genocide.
But we don't. But you understand why I'm saying this. We don't care about the killing of black people. Of Christians in Africa because Jews are not involved because it's got nothing to do with Israel. That's why the media don't run it. That's why nobody gives a toss because we can't say it's the Jews to blame.
Yeah.
Well, that's partly to do with it, but just getting back to the black Christians here, they're There's tremendous for evangelism. When you're about the streets, you'll notice that the most people who are giving out tracts or speaking about Jesus are black. There are some white people, most of them are black. And now, I want to tell you this. I went to one church up in Scotland, and they had continuous prayer for the nation of Great Britain. They were they love this country. They pray for this country. They do the best they can for this country. And when they bring up their children, they bring up their children in the love and the fear of God. And you don't get knife stabbings and killings amongst their families.
No.
The problem is that if you don't bring your children up in the fear and love of God, they go wild.
Yeah, but we don't do enough. We don't do enough for, I'll be honest with you, for anyone who's living in the inner city. But obviously, there's a lot of black people in the inner city, a lot of white people as well. But the attainment of those is incredibly low in things like schools. We don't do enough for them because we don't care about pro-British Christian people who are, say, recent migrants to the country, or indeed from ethnic minorities. We don't care about them.
You're right there, Andre. You're right. But listen, to me, I just feel like speaking about this tonight. To me, my black brothers and sisters, the ministers, the churches I've attended, mostly all Pentecostal, they've been a tremendous example to me of how to live your life as a Christian, how they love God and they love their neighbour as themselves. And they're great family-orientated people. They look after their children and they look after their parents.
Absolutely.
Christian families.
Ken, we've got to go to a break now, but thanks for that message. And I've got to say to you...
God bless you. Hallelujah.
I will tell you,
God be with you.
I don't agree with Ken on absolutely everything, but I will say one thing. You know, there's a lot of what he says is right, and I do have to say that we do not do enough to recognise. So we complain all the time about the fact that people are coming to Britain who don't respect our culture. We don't say enough about those people who come to Britain who do respect our culture. More next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is the late night phone-in with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Well, let's just go to AD in Blackpool. AD, you're on Talk.
AD.
Come on, AD.
Andre.
Come on,
All right.
You eat cock.
What's going on down Blackpool? AD? AD?
Yeah,
Yeah,
No.
maybe.
No, I can't hear you. What are you saying?
Andre,
AD?
you hear me?
No, can't hear you.
Who are you?
AD in Blackpool.
Oh, sorry, AD. We can't hear you, though.
You can't hear me?
Can you, no, I can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Could you just say Mr. Mafugglwick?
Hello, can you hear me now?
No, we're joking with you. What's going on, AD, down Blackpool?
All right, how we doing?
We're all right, man. How's Blackpool? Love Blackpool.
Yeah, good.
Oh, that's not what I've heard.
Well, no, not exactly. Round there.
By the way, do you know Liam Halewood? He's a sort of big Boy George, XL size Boy George impersonator. He's now moving to Elvis, though. He works around the Blackpool area. He's one of the best.
Oh, right, okay.
You don't know him then. Anyway, what do you want to talk about, Ada?
He invited me to his wedding, by the way.
Who, Ada? Did you invite Andre to your wedding?
No, Liam Halewood.
Well,
He's getting married to a man.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not saying this.
No, you're saying there's something wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Didn't invite me, neither. Anyway, Adi, what's up? The illuminations, they're up.
And Ash, I spoke to you.
Oh, I'll tell you why he's invited me. Don't bring a gift. Donate to the honeymoon. I'm not going to that.
Anyway, Adi.
Get out of it.
Adi, what is it? What's in your mind, man? I think he's trying to tell us something.
Yeah, no, Andre Ash, I've spoken to you for the last couple of weeks.
I know.
About various subjects.
Yeah.
But one thing that I said to you last time was about politics, and I said that I made a mistake, actually. I was on about from right back to the Tony Blair era, and they made a big long run-up with the leftists and this, that and the other, and they've totally failed. But actually, the Tories have done the same thing as well.
They continued on with the Blairism for some ridiculous reason.
Yeah.
Fools.
After I spoke to you, I was actually thinking, well, it's not just the Tories. And sorry, I'm putting my glasses on. So every time I speak to you guys,
You need to put your glasses on to speak to us.
No, every time I speak to you, I want to speak to you about a million things. So I made loads of notes.
Yeah.
And
Well, put your glasses on then.
yeah, and at the time, you were saying, well, I think Ash might have even said, well, they're doing all right, and they're in for like whatever, how many years. But when you actually look at the whole,
I've got no idea.
Sorry.
I'm not making much sense.
No,
Carry
I've
on.
got no idea what you're
why
talking
did you
about.
why did you stop? What? Just give us 1 point, yeah.
No. All I'm saying is do you not think that there is a?
I don't know what he's talking about. Sorry, Adi. No, don't stop.
Do you not think there is a turning point now?
Yeah, pivot point. Yeah. Well, hopefully that's what we're all hoping. I mean, the lefties are all lashing out, aren't they? Like, you know, they know they've lost, so it's actually getting a bit worse before it will get better.
Yeah.
Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, but also as well, a couple of things that I wanted to say last time. I was listening to Mike Graham and Mike Parry on one of their podcasts.
Long time ago, that was.
Yeah, but Mike Graham's, well, the pair of them are a different class, and they were on about Venezuela and how apparently that was the big
what was
thing.
it?
Well, they were saying that with Venezuela.
What was Venezuela? What did they discover?
Well, with
Come
the
on.
social... With
How it fails,
socialism-
Hugo Chavez. It's a failed state. Same with all
Yeah,
socialist
exactly.
countries. They end up living off the money that when it was capitalist they had in the bank, and now they're all begging bowls.
Yeah, Ash. They should have been the richest country on earth.
All the oil.
Oil and everything like that.
Yeah.
And what I was... I'm not making a very good point of this.
No,
But,
It's all right.
No.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Socialists always fail. Is that
That's
what you're
basically it, isn't it?
Yeah. And where I'm going with that is when I said to Andre a few weeks ago, the leftists took a big run-up, a massive run-up, and they absolutely failed. And at the time, the pair of you were like, well, you came back with different arguments, but they have.
Yeah.
No, let's start all the way from the beginning. Adi, no, thanks, Adi. That was great. Let's go to... no, it was interesting, though, wasn't it? And he's bang on. Let's go to Grace in London for some spiritual awakening.
I'm not sure I can offer much of that necessarily.
Well, if you can't do that, we don't want you on. No, I'm joking.
Well, I would concur with Ken. It's really fantastic how there are people from Africa who are really promoting Christianity in our country when it's otherwise disappearing, and I really feel great.
Why do you think that is?
Are we relying on them?
Why has this country lost its sort of church-going ways, and yet African countries, it's through the roof, isn't it? They're very passionate.
That's a very good question. I think there are lots of complicated factors. I think that to some extent we in the West have come to value material wealth more than other things.
I agree with that.
And interestingly, quite a lot of people say, how could God exist when there's this suffering in the world? And yet, in some of the places in the world where there's the most suffering, there are more people who are actually turning to God.
because a lot of people from some of the worst places in the world see hope, and I will tell you something. I mean, nobody wants to be in the middle of a famine, but during things like a famine, during things like a flood, during things like the loss of a relative, during a bereavement, that is when you see the true value in the people around you and their true greatness. Now, most of us would like to not face trials and tribulations in our lives, but you do know who the good people are, and you do see greatness in those moments.
Yeah, it's as though, as a society generally, we've become a bit spoiled. In fact, so much so that I've noticed the word spoiled now often gets used in marketing in a positive sense.
They've even spoiled the word spoil.
Yeah,
exactly. People say, oh, I'm going to spoil you, when actually a little while ago one would have used the word spoiled to refer to the fact that if you give a kid too much stuff, then they cease to appreciate things.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
And I think that, there are interesting debates about that, because in Jesus' time, the rod might actually have been used to guide the sheep rather than to hit them. So it's not necessarily an endorsement of physical punishment,
So
although I'm not.
Right.
But the point being that because we've had things so good, we've kind of ignored and rejected God, whereas people who don't have as much materially are more appreciative.
They have more
but I
hope.
don't think. But if you look at material happiness versus real happiness, there's no comparison. I've said before today, if a Lamborghini made you happy, then why is it that everybody who owns a Lamborghini wants a second one or wants a newer one?
Make them happier.
Now, my argument about a Lamborghini is very simply this: if you wish to drive round quickly, a Lamborghini is good. If you want to do track days, that's fine. But the Lamborghini in of itself is not a route to happiness. It's just a fast car.
And also speed bumps in the city. They're really not designed for city.
But if you want to drive fast, then buy yourself a Lamborghini. But if you believe a Lamborghini will make you happy, you're probably wrong.
I mean, unfortunately, there are serious problems with depression here in the wealthier part of the world, and amongst some of the very most successful and wealthy individuals.
Oh, yes.
There are high rates of depression and suicide. I'm not trying to take those lightly at all, because it's a horrible condition.
Money doesn't make you happier, but it can make misery more comfortable.
Quite a lot of I've got a friend of mine who does education for children, and quite a lot of children who are materially incredibly privileged actually fall into the category of neglected children. because mum and dad are working at the bank all day.
They send you to boarding schools, they have nannies, so you don't actually get the full parenting.
When I worked at Westminster City Council, the number of people that neglected children from a wealthy background and a poor background were actually the same. Now, effectively, from a poor background, it might be family breakdown, drug abuse, or whatever. From a wealthy background,
same thing.
Well, I suppose it is actually, but just for different reasons. The reason why you didn't read about the investment bankers who got into trouble with the Council for Child Neglect is because fairly obviously they had the money to say, right, we'll just hire 2 extra nannies or do whatever.
And they've got lawyers if they ever did get in trouble, and they'll shut down things.
Yeah, so if you're neglecting a child, your ability to hire an extra nanny is going to get social services off your back, at least to an extent, which is the only reason why a lot of very, very bad parents who were wealthy never went to court.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to mostly know people who have had fairly happy lives, except for the people who I know through my history of being in eating disorders units. They've had a more difficult time. But
it's funny, they don't have anorexia and eating disorders in the developing world. Apparently it doesn't happen. It only happens, I don't know if that's true, but they say it only happens in Western materialist cultures.
I think that's probably true to some extent, but it would also be difficult to gauge given that there's not so much research going on in those places. But it's very much the case that a lot of people do find that turning to God makes them happier. It doesn't, unfortunately, resolve all mental health problems. It would be really nice for me personally if it did, because then I wouldn't have an eating disorder anymore. But
you had one, did you? Right, you had an eating disorder.
Oh, well, I had pretty severe anorexia. These days I eat enough to be. These days I eat enough to be healthy enough. But
did God help? Did finding God, or were you always religious? Did that help you not be anorexic? You still are presumably anorexic. Is what you're saying?
I've still got real issues, so I'm not completely better.
So just Grace, let me just ask you. Is it like being an alcoholic where you will always have the tendencies towards that sort of behaviour, but what you're doing is managing it? I mean, I imagine you don't just one day go, oh, I'm no longer anorexic and that's the end of it.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, partly because it is quite genetic, and also because you develop kind of patterns in the wiring of your brain that are really hard to escape. I mean, today there's been a lot of discussion about OCD in the news, and biochemically, it's a lot like that. You end up with these patterns in your brain that you can't.
So was your mother, because you say it travels in DNA, was your mother, because it might be actually environmental, if she's been thinking that way, maybe when you're brought up by her, you're actually programmed like that.
But my mum doesn't have an eating disorder, but she did to a small extent when she was younger. My grandmother definitely did. So it's a combination of factors. But I like I say, I'm a lot healthier than I was previously, and I have found that in the meantime, I actually, though I feel annoyed about my eating disorder, I feel some kind of sense of joy that I didn't have before I turned to God, even though I was healthier.
Well, you can. This is why you probably watch us too. Makes you feel better.
I think there's lots of different ways that you can cope with your life. My view on why there are so few eating disorders in the developing world is very simply this. I think that they suffer very different pressures to what we suffer from. I mean, I personally think that, social media on your phones, I think the ability to bully you in your own home at night because you've got WhatsApp, I think that...
There used to be magazines before there was the social, whereas you don't really have that.
Beauty magazines, pressures in school. I mean, when the pressures in the developing world as a subsistence farmer are very different to the pressures on the 14-year-old girl in Sutton Coldfield. That's just the nature of the beast. And I suspect that mental health problems are less common in the developing world, but because the problems they have to deal with are much more apparent and much more obvious than. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everything is multifactorial. I remember one of my professors at university saying everything is connected to genes, and everything is also connected to environment. So it's very complex. There was a study that they did where men who had been released from a prisoner of war camp had anorexia, that is, they weren't eating, not because they wanted to be skinny, but they could not bring themselves to eat, even though they didn't have the same social situation at all of feeling...
But also, Grace, remember, when troops came back from Vietnam, there was a major concern about the level of drug abuse by American soldiers in Vietnam. And actually, the vast majority of soldiers, when they were out of that environment, did not become long-term drug users. And the Americans were quite surprised by that.
Yeah, I think the complexities of mental health and substances and things like that are really endless, and obviously something that people are talking a lot more about now than they did in the past.
Yeah.
But as I said, yeah, my experience and the experience of a lot of people is that though turning to God doesn't just kind of resolve all of your problems, it does give one a sense of joy and fulfillment, even if life is still a bit of a mess in one way or another. And I think that, yeah, part of the sense of hopelessness that some people have in the West is because we've lost that. And it's wonderful, as Ken said, that there are some people coming into our country who are, you know, upholding Christianity. It's not only people from the African continent, though. I mean, my church has got a lot of people from Iran.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there's actually quite a movement going on there. Again, it's like when situations.
I mean, I think there's one thing, Grace, that we forget. I'm very concerned about. So first of all, I would say that I'm in favour of immigration. At least, you know, I think a small quantity is always worthwhile. I'm certainly not against it in principle, but I've always said that it's easier to integrate into a country where you've got a connection with it, whether that be a family connection, whether that be a religious connection, whether that be a linguistic connection, cultural connection. So fairly obviously, it's easier to move to Britain from Jamaica than it is from, say, Eritrea, as an example, even though I think Eritrea is a bit closer. And I think we always forget that, and so we always forget the value of Christians from around the world coming to Britain.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately what matters most of all to each of us as a human being is our fundamental beliefs and what we choose to put value in, as opposed to smaller aspects of culture, such as what we like to eat or watch.
People always go on about food. Anyway, Grace, I've got to cut you off because we've got to go to a break. Back in a mo.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Ashley Gould. By the way, the person who made the joke about bulimia, right, let me tell you the worst thing I've ever heard about any eating disorder. When John Prescott said that he was bulimic, and we were like, what do you mean you're bulimic, right? So he said that what he used to do was he used to have a 3-course meal when he was Deputy Prime Minister, but he wanted to have a second one. So he'd put his fingers down his throat and then go to a second dinner. That's not bulimia. It's gluttony, right? So those are two entirely. Bulimia is when people eat, feel bad about it, and throw up, and then don't eat.
Yeah, it's throwing up to lose weight. Not
That is That is gluttony.
Yeah.
That is Roman gluttony, John Prescott.
Because, by the way, you know, they say that's a myth about the Romans used to make themselves sick and they had a room called a vomitorium. A vomitorium is actually the exit point of a stadium. Like Wembley Way is a vomitorium. It's because it looks like vomiting when the people are all coming out. So that's how the myth of the Romans making themselves sick came out. It's an education, this show. But anyway, we've got a new caller. It's Monica in Falkirk.
Hello, Monica.
Monica?
Come on, Monica.
Monica.
Monica's given us the silent treatment.
Monica. There was that song, wasn't there? 0344 499 1000. We're going to get John or Martin or Cindy, Andrew, Mark. What Just Happened's coming out at 10 a.m. tomorrow. That's me, Kevin, Samara, mainly me.
I'm sure what's happened is that Monica has forgotten that she's got the phone.
Well, Melroy, let's go to Melroy, and then we'll get Monica after. Melroy.
Yes. I'm calling about our Christian faith in this country, because we're saying that Britain is a Christian country, but still yet we're selling off the churches to Muslims. Yeah.
Well, that is. Have you got? Can you take the cloth away from your mouth? No, actually, can you put the mid-range up on the old EQ processor? So, Melroy, are you seeing this happen by you? Because I've seen a bit of that, and it doesn't. I don't like it when things are taken over. Do you know what I mean by it? It seems like a bit of a point being made. Do you think that, Melroy?
Yes, and it's worrying.
Yeah. What are you worried about then?
Very worried.
Where in Birmingham are you?
I'm in.
Where?
Perry Bar.
Oh, Perry Bar, because that's very near Handsworth, which is where Robert Jenrick went and said, you know. I went to school in Handsworth, and when I went there, there was a lot of Caribbean people and a lot of Asian people, not many white people back then.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, I mean, have a lot of the Caribbean people moved out of Handsworth, or are they still there? I know Perry Bar is obviously, there's a lot of people.
Still there.
They're still in Handsworth. And in Handsworth as well, yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question, Melroy? You sound like somebody who might be Caribbean or something like that.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you're a Christian. Can you tell me why we as white people are so rubbish at standing up for Christianity?
Well, to be honest, I am from Jamaica, born in Jamaica.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And in Jamaica, you know, your faith, Christianity faith, was like the be-all and end-all of everything. Your parents...
I suppose it was a bit like in Ireland, it was very strong religion, wasn't it, until recently?
Yes. Very, very strong, yeah. And therefore, you sort of grew up like that, have this strong belief, this strong...
And a strong community as well, so you had a community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the community is connected to the church. I suppose that's what Ash is saying. And so I suppose when you came to Britain from Jamaica, you just literally unpacked your bags, got your house, and said, "Where's the nearest church that I need to join?"
Were you a kid? Were you a child when you came here?
Not a child, but a young man.
So when did you come here? In like the 80s or late 70s?
Yes, early 80s.
In the early 80s, wow.
Yeah.
So what, you were 20 and you just came here to sort of just get a better life? Yeah. What was it like? Where were you from? You were from Jamaica?
I was married. I'm married to a British girl.
Yeah.
And then I came here.
Why didn't you get her to move to Jamaica? Did you just think it would be a better life?
She actually moved to Jamaica. That was where I met her.
She went of her own accord. Or did Jamaica?
Melroy, I'm going to cut you off. The reason is because we love what you're saying. The problem is
we obviously don't.
The signal, the line's not that great. We can't really hear him all that well. I'll tell you what. Why don't we go to a break and then we're going to go to John in West Lothian.
Thanks.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, let's go straight to John in West Lothian. John, you're on Talk.
Can you get Monica? I think we had her. Hi, John. Morning.
Good evening. Oh, good morning.
By the way, the clocks go forward or backwards or something at 2, just to let you know.
Oh, if it was 1 o'clock, they could F right off.
You can stay in bed.
There's no way.
The person at Paul Ross will have to do an hour extra, or is it less? I don't know. Anyway,
can you imagine if at 1 o'clock it became midnight? We had to have to do it all again.
Well, that's what used to happen to overnight, but then they get it at the other end. They get an hour off when it changes forward. Because it happens always at 2.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I remember that story when it was the last day of mourning for the Queen and they made me talk for 5 hours. The official mourning ended at 6 a.m. I had to do 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. talking about the Queen. Everything had been said. There were no guests left. And I just literally, the light went on and I just talked for 5 hours on my own. It was filth. It was the worst experience of my life. Anyway, John, sorry.
And everyone else's.
Sorry, go on. Yeah,
John in West Lothian.
I agree.
No, I enjoyed it. It was a beautiful moment. Hi, John.
What I'd like to say is, first of all, I think Kent is one of the best people that you've got phoning in. He talks such a lot of sense, and I think one of the problems that we've got in this country nowadays is that the youngsters are not being taught through education about the benefits of what Britain is all about, what respect is and all the rest of it.
Well, it's the opposite's happening. They're being told how terrible Britain is and they're being programmed with their own politics, disgusting politics in their schools.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in Scotland, we're you know...
You've got it even worse up there, haven't you? I mean, that woman who said she's born and bred in, was it Falkirk? And she got in trouble and she even said herself, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. What's wrong with saying you're born and bred? Like in West Lothian, they say that's racist to say. How ridiculous!
It is absolutely stupid the way that things are up here at the moment, and I'm horrified. And actually, I'm an old person, so I'm allowed to say what the hell I like.
Well, how old are you? You don't sound that old.
And they can't do very much to me anymore. But
I mean, in of itself, John, I'm going to let you make your point. Sorry to keep interrupting you, but in of it yourself, think about what you've just said. I'm old enough to no longer care. They can't stop me saying what I want to say. That, of course, comes with the implication that actually you recognise that Britain is not a free country anymore. But actually, at your age, they ain't going to cart you off to prison, so who gives a toss?
But you've got grandchildren, presumably, or children, or nieces?
Well, no, if they carry me off to prison, I'll get a few weeks of free board and lodging. So
yeah, just keep your head down, keep your nose clean. You'll be out within a couple of days.
You'll be one of the worst lags on D-Wing.
Well, they'll let me off, and then I'll go and get a boat, and I'll come back again.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. We in this country nowadays are ashamed of what we stand for, what we believe in, and
our history.
The vast majority of the public must stand up for what we actually believe in, what has made this country great, what we are proud of. And honestly, we are one of the best.
See what we believe. Can I tell you, John, what Asher and I believe? So, first of all, we do this because we quite like debate, right? So that's the first and most important thing. I don't think either of us came into it with some great sense of societal duty. Certainly I didn't. But what we felt since then is we believe that there is an attack on this country, an attempt to prevent people in this country having a genuine political democratic dialogue, and it's our job to stand up for that right. And so in the old days, what we might have said was, oh, debating comes up with better ideas. We now believe that we're the vanguard of a movement to protect freedom and democracy.
And turn things round,
yeah,
reverse things.
That is our genuine belief, which is a bizarre thing, and I don't think, certainly I never thought we'd do.
And there's not many people doing it, not many media channels doing it.
No, I absolutely, believe that. But I actually think, I remember saying to Mike Graham very early on, when he did his evening programme, when we were talking about the general election way back in 2024, that, it wasn't two-tier care, it was fair care. And actually, what's happened now is that the man is anti-British. I honestly believe that he's almost a bloody alien. He doesn't care a thing about this country. No. And where we're going down the tube. We're becoming a laughingstock in the world. And we, as the public, because at the end of the day, whether you loved or hated Margaret Thatcher, she said the government has no money. We've only got the money that you give us, right? So the voters, are the people that can choose.
But John,
control the country.
John, tell me about Scotland. So let me tell you something about my background. My dad was an engineer, electrical engineer, rose through the ranks, became the boss of a major company, and he was based in 3 offices: Manchester, Glasgow, and Newcastle. And so I spent a lot of time in Glasgow as a child. I mean, not an enormous amount of time. I didn't go to school there or anything, but I certainly was fairly familiar with the place. And I always thought, like most English people do, that Scotland and England are equal. Scotland has lots of great, obviously, it's a much smaller country than England, but it's got lots of great things about it. And I think, the first thing that started to irritate me about Scotland was when they seemed to become the biggest home of self-pity in the world. They were no longer the go-getters. They were no longer... all they were interested in, as long as England... It was fine for Scotland to fail as long as England did as well. And I look at Scotland now, maybe I'm wrong, John, but I see a shadow of what it used to be. And
absolutely. I think that's... Because they reversed the drug problems in Glasgow a few years ago and all the stabbings. They had the best education system, and now it's all reversed. Yes, in about 15 years, it's all unravelled because of your SNP single policy.
Yes, exactly. We've got idiots who are now trying to run it. We've got a Scottish Parliament, which I personally would do away with tomorrow.
Yes, it's done nothing but harm.
We're trying to divide and ruin the country. And we if we stick together, we're a very strong nation.
Yes.
We believe in the same standards overall, but diversity, the way that things are being done today, is just totally and absolutely
But I think part of the problem, can I tell you what I think part of the problem with Scotland is? I think part of the problem is the Irish Republic. And the reason why I say that is because The problem you've got with the Irish Republic is it's an independent nation when it wants to be, and then basically a half sibling of the United Kingdom when it wants to be. So as an example, they're going on about Brexit this and Brexit that. Okay, their missile defence, their air defence and their sea defence is the United Kingdom. It's not paid for by the United Kingdom. It literally is.
And they
the
can
United
come
Kingdom.
here without any passports, freedom
so they
to
don't
roam.
need a passport. But the bailout of the Bank of Ireland, what was it, 8 billion that they needed a bailout. The Bank of England bailed out the Bank of Ireland. And then they sat there during the Brexit referendum having a go. But when you listen to the SNP, what they talk about is Scottish independence. What they don't talk about is that would be the breakup of the United Kingdom. What the SNP think is that you can all leave the United Kingdom and still get the benefits in the same way the Irish Republic does. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, but we would actually be worse. I mean, we've got a politician up here at the moment, and the previous one thought, men could be sent to women's prisons and all sorts of crap that goes with it. But now we're sending money to Malawi to help people get dental treatment, and in Scotland you can't get dental treatment.
And we're sending 80 million rubber Johnnies to Pakistan.
Yeah, exactly. We're interfering in things that have got nothing to do with us. And we're trying to... the Scottish Parliament's costing millions and millions and millions of pounds. We are one of the most over-governed countries in the world, because, with Westminster, Holyrood, local authorities...
There's a lot of people making a lot of money and then getting Winnebagos parked outside their mum's house.
And also, John, if we complain in Britain about the centralisation of the police... so if we complain in England about the centralisation of the police, what has happened in Scotland has been a catastrophe.
Absolutely, I totally agree with
Police
that.
Scotland.
I have regular contact with the police, and I'm reasonably involved in a number of different things, and it's absolutely true. It is all gone wrong, and we cannot afford to keep ourselves. We are going to be one of the most... We're going to be bankrupt if independence comes. We're going to be bankrupt.
Okay, John, I'm going to cut you off. I've got to cut you off there. Monica, I don't know what happened from a technical point of view, but we'll speak to you next week. Steve is in Derby. We've just got 1 minute left. Steve, go for it.
Hey up, Duck.
Hello, me Doug. It's nice to speak to you both. I don't know if you remember, Ash, when bless him, James was on the air with you and James.
I do remember you. I do actually. Yeah. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. And I just remember talking to James. I remember James and you saying, well, James especially saying about when he lived in Derby, when he worked in Derby.
That's right. He worked at BBC Derby for a small, short time.
Yeah, when it was quite quiet and there wasn't a lot going on.